What's up and welcome back to Bar Down Talking Hockey, episode number 97, presented by the Bar Room Network. My name is Vinny Parisi, and I am a certified G and a bona fide stud, and you can't teach that. And this right here, this is Frankie Mueller, and he's 7 foot tall, and you can't teach that. Frank, bada boom, was good.
My hands are cold.
Why are your hands cold?
I just peed and I washed my hands, and I feel like in the winter your hands get extra cold, obviously, because of how cold it is outside. And I don't know, it's just really cold right now.
That whole little intro I just did, combined with you going, my hands are cold, I just peed. It gives me like Dan and Aldo bare their souls vibes. Like that's just the weird. Like I was like, what am I gonna do for the intro today? I'll just go back to old reliable. And I know Frankie likes wrestling. And then Frankie's like, my hands are cold, but you're
They
7
are.
foot tall, so I guess that's an advantage. You're closer to.
I need like a hand warmer. Your
Yeah.
mouth. I'm laughing out loud. They
That's fine.
are.
I mean,
And I got a cold bottle of water here. That doesn't help.
yeah, I got a cold Monster. I don't drink Monster very often, but this funny story, really quick. We were at Madison Square Garden for Devils Rangers, and these people who worked for Monster, no free ads, were handing out Monsters. And I took one, and Katie took one. We put them in our pocket. They made it all the way home with us, and I'm just now having them now. What's up, Skokes? Good to have you. Frank, you got a lot of shit to talk about.
Yeah, a lot happened.
Got a lot to talk
A lot
about.
happened, lots upcoming.
It's one of the biggest, most greatest weekends of the entire sports calendar, I would say. This is a lot of people's Christmas. It is my Christmas. It's gambling Christmas. It is expected to be the most bet on sporting event in the history of the world this weekend. I do believe every Super Bowl is going to break the previous record, just as these sports books become more, part of culture and whatnot. But, eventually they'll reach a peak, I'm sure. But I think it's time we get into the sports balls in period number 1. Welcome to period 1, where Frank and I are going to go over what was a very moderate to mediocre NHL All-Star weekend. Normally, I love this stuff. Absolutely love it.
Tommy Mango and Lovely Paula in the house.
Lovely Paula, Tommy Mango. They're in my phone as Tom Mangoes and Paula Mangoes. Just because I wanted it to be unique, and I really like mangoes. The mangoes, they were very, very good.
How often do you eat mangoes? Not
Been,
too often.
It's probably been a couple years.
Yeah.
But when I do, I enjoy it.
It's not common that people just eat mangoes on a regular. It's like one of those, it's like a luxury fruit. Like people eat apples, oranges, bananas, but then when you go for that luxury fruit, you're seeking out some mangoes.
Yeah. Are you still a kumquat guy?
I like the name. I'll always be a kumquat guy. The flavor, I don't know.
I believe it.
But the actual name, I love the name kumquat. I mean, who doesn't?
I believe it. Frank, the skills competition stunk.
All right.
It was horrible.
Hype down a little bit.
It was so fucking boring. It was so boring, and there are two types of people. People that will admit it.
You're that old man.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not, Frank. I like almost everything. There were good moments. We're going to talk about the things I did like. But overall, it wasn't as good as years past. I have expectations for the skills competition. It didn't meet them. It stunk.
I like the cheekiness of it.
See, I miss the relay.
I love it.
I miss the relay. I miss, when Hardest Shot actually had people like firing cannons. I don't know. It was just boring. It didn't have that skills competition feel this year. This is the first year in a long time where the games were better than the skills competition.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't know. I kind of like them going to the beach, shooting at surfboards. The dunk tank was cool. The Tandy Tandem was a little weird. That was probably my least favorite competition this year. I enjoyed the breakaway challenge. I thought that was interesting. It's stuff like that which makes me like it. And you're going to have those events that you don't like Tandy Tandem. What was the other new one? I'm drawing a blank.
Well, besides the one with the...
There were 3 new ones. There was a dunk tank, and then Tandy Tandem, and then pitch and puck. What was that?
Oh, the putter one.
Oh, see, I liked that. That
I
was
hated
cheap.
that.
No, I
I
liked
wanted to
it.
take a fucking nap.
Oh no, see, I enjoyed it.
Me, 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 me,
Joe
me.
Mandel says All-Star game was weak this year. Wow.
Yeah, it sucked.
The
Like,
game?
I
Ah,
liked the games.
he said the game was weak.
Yeah, the skills competition was
See, I
very
didn't hate
mid
it.
to below
I didn't
average.
hate it.
I have two highlights. I liked Crosby and Ovechkin. I
That
liked
was
the fact
cool.
I liked the fact that they were there. I liked the fact that neither of them opted out. They're both not are they in the twilight of their career? They're not in their last year. I think they each
Eh,
have 3 more years
but they
left.
wanted to soak it in more this year than any other year, and that's
Absolutely,
why they joined together in the competition with Sergei
absolutely.
Ovechkin.
Yeah, a really funny joke. I asked Joey if he would be surprised if Sergei Ovechkin ever made it to the NHL, and he gave the funniest yet realist answer I've ever heard. Like, he wasn't trying to be funny, but it made me laugh. He goes, "I wouldn't be surprised if he goes first overall and scores 700 goals." I was like, "Oh, there are like 10 guys ever that scored 700 goals. His daddy's one of them." All right, you know, I mean,
He'll
he's
be in the
gonna.
NHL one day.
You think?
Yeah,
It's a bold claim.
I don't know.
It's so hard to make it to the NHL.
I know, but when it's in your blood, it's in your blood. I mean, think of all the families who've come through the NHL: fathers, kids, their sons. There's the
Yeah,
Kachucks.
yeah, we'll see. The
I
fact
mean,
that both Kachucks, that was something I liked about the actual All Star game, but we'll get to that in a
the
second.
Stahl brothers. It's not just like one brother made it; all
Yeah.
three made it. It's like it'll happen. I think. Like I'd say it's almost a guarantee. To be honest with you,
Wow, it's a bold claim there, Frank.
it'll be a while.
He's draft eligible in 2035, I think he said.
Yeah, so I'll be nearing 40, but
Yeah, maybe the Jack Hughes Devils days will be over and they'll stink again and they could take him first overall. Hopefully they have 3 or 4 cups by then with this core. McDavid is also an alien. I'm happy he didn't do fastest skater because we got to see him actually put some of his other, skills to the test. Like, yeah, we get it. McDavid's fast. But he also is better than everyone at everything.
well, yeah. Here's the thing: if it was, you're talking about the accuracy, obviously,
Yeah, he
right?
went 8 for 8.
Right. Now, I didn't think he was gonna win the whole thing, the whole accuracy shooting, but I thought he had the best chance of winning. But with the format this year being like tournament style and not whoever could do it quickest, like they've done in years past, I felt like there was more of a chance to be overthrown, and it ultimately happened. He was beaten by Kadri. Um, I felt like doing it that way, you have a better chance of messing up. Like winning a tournament's easier or harder than just winning one game. Like if it was the way that it used to be where you just shoot and whoever has the fastest time, well, he would have easily won. His first attempt, he got in like what 9 seconds, 8 seconds, something ridiculous. He would have won. But tournament style, it's a little bit different. There's more room for error, and ultimately Kadri dethroned him and went to the championship and lost to Brock Nelson. But yeah, that was incredible seeing how accurate he is, and that's why he's the best player in the NHL.
It was just another reason that the skills competition stunk because they even ruined one of the best parts of the skills competition by doing it tournament style. Listen, even timed is better, but timed isn't the best way they've ever done it either.
Well, I
Number
got go ahead, go ahead,
number of shots is the best way to measure accuracy.
and speed. I mean, if
Why?
he's sitting there all day, I mean, yeah, McDavid can. If he sits there for a minute lining up each shot, that would be
Not
kind of
everyone would go
stupid.
4 for 4. Watch
No,
the old skills competitions from the 90s and 2000s.
but to me, it's
They,
not as impressive. It's more impressive that he was able to do it in less than 10 seconds, 4 for 4.
that's fine.
If
It's
he
just
sits there and takes a minute and goes 4 for 4, my jaw's not hitting the ground. I wouldn't even want to talk about him on the show today. To me,
I
it's
get
not as
I
impressive.
get what you're saying, but a minute is wildly exaggerated.
Well, but
I think there's like a gentleman feel to it where like you get the puck and you shoot. You don't
eh,
sit there all day, but
if you took time out of it, people would sit there all day.
it's I don't they didn't until they changed it to timed like 5 or 6 years ago. Back when we watched
Yeah,
it,
I
that
know,
time
but
we watched it at your house, it wasn't timed. It was just shots. And like the people like Messier went 4 for 4 one time and everyone said, "Oh, it was crazy."
I
That's
like it more timed. I think
it definitely adds more entertainment value.
competitive too. It's more
Yeah.
competitive.
Yeah, absolutely. I get what you're saying. It's just it's not a measure of accuracy. It's a measure of who can hit the targets faster.
which is accuracy, right? Like, you
Yes
still got to
and
be
no.
accurate. There were two takeaways from the whole skills competition that I want to bring up. One, I like that they were actual targets and not electronic boards like they were. I hated that so much.
So bad.
It looked ugly.
He
It felt
sure
like
hit one and
sometimes
it
it didn't
didn't go
even work.
off.
Right. And my second takeaway, now that I'm drawing a blank on what it is, I should have said that one first. Oh, I hated that it was you would do part one of an event and then go to a second event, and the championship would be like 2 hours later. I didn't like that. I wish they would have
Terrible.
done like the whole tournament, like one after another. Do the whole accuracy competition. Do the whole fastest skater. So no, I don't need to know who won the fastest skater 2.5 hours later. I want to know now. That was weird to me, and that's one part I didn't like about it. But
Yeah. It sounds like everything with the skills competition that you're complimenting, you're throwing a "but I hated this" about it, which just tells me that deep down inside you
I
understand that
enjoyed
this
it though.
skills.
I sat
Okay,
there and watched the whole thing, and
so did I.
I genuinely enjoyed it. I really like. I like the cheeky competitions. I like the golf things. Like there's, I hated not the overall event. I hated how it was produced. The event. I hated the production of the event.
That's fair. I mean,
There's no
I
reason to do competitions like that, like the way they did it. That's not hating the event. That's hating the way it was created. Whoever's running the event did a poor job.
yeah. So I tweeted that I hated it, but I love hockey so much that I also enjoyed it. If that makes sense. Like I
Hmm.
loved McDavid. What he did. Crosby and Ovechkin were fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Jack Hughes is a superstar. Like the Devils finally have a guy that goes to these things, and he stunk in his one challenge. But like the one guy who finished with a low time than him is one of the other guys in the league who scored 50. I mean, it just shows like if you don't get in a rhythm on that challenge, you're screwed.
Right.
But I just didn't find it as fun as I used to back in the day. Also, I can imagine it being more fun if you're there. But I also two of the events you had to like watch on a jumbotron. So like if I was there, I'd be like, really? I came to the event to watch something on a jumbotron for half the time. And the golf thing put me to freaking sleep. They were even talking as if it was a golf tournament. Yeah, so Johnny Gaudreau, he has the stick and he's actually going to shoot this one over the water and it's going to land on the green and it's going to roll and it's going to make it within 5 feet of the hole. It was fucking put me to sleep. I couldn't wait for it to be freaking over so that I could go to bed and watch the All-Star game in the morning. Honestly, I dumb.
Shame.
It is a shame. But less than 24 hours later, the All-Star game came on. What was your takeaway from that?
I was 2/3 right. I had the Central beating the Pacific. You laughed at me. I had the
About
Metro
time.
or I had the
Congratulations.
Atlantic beating the Metro. You laughed at me.
About time.
And then I
Congratulations.
thought the Central would take it home, but they didn't. And you're like, McDavid, he's gonna run. I'm like, it doesn't matter. Dude had one goal. That's it. He had 1 point. It's in a skills comp or in the All-Star game. It doesn't matter if you're the best player in the world. They go about it differently. They don't try as hard. It's like completely different.
So you're admitting you got lucky.
I didn't get lucky. The All-Star game's a 50-50 either way, in
Yeah.
my opinion.
Yeah. So like when you make a guess on who's gonna like next year, I might.
Like it could go either way. Like
Yeah,
the fact that you said like Pacific's gonna win because McDavid's gonna be dominant. That doesn't happen in All-Star game.
I did think that. I was wrong.
Like every year going forward, it's like it literally could go either way. I'll
Yeah.
probably choose the Central next year too, even if they're the worst division. Just
Yeah.
because
You have a chance to be right.
it's like flipping a coin.
Yeah. 100%. I get what you're saying. Like next year, I listen. They were talking about on Spit and Chicklets. I hope they get rid of this division crap now. It's tired.
I agree. I want him to
It's
get. I want him to
it's
go back
tired.
to the draft.
Well, the draft would be better because like okay, you could draft and still do 3-on-3.
Well,
You
right.
you could also do it by country, which I think would be just so much fun.
Like Team
They
Europe versus
they
what?
they have robbed us of world hockey for the last 5 or 6 years. They haven't done the World Cup since 2016. They haven't gone to the last 3 Olympics, right? Like the last time they went to the Olympics was Sochi in 2014. They don't do anything in the preseason like the Canada Cup anymore, like they did in the 90s. And, Wayne Gretzky playing with Mario for Team Canada playing against, the Team USA team that won the Canada Cup or the Olympics, or Team Sweden pulling one out in 03, the gold medal. It sucks. So, like, let's bring that to the All-Star game.
So are you saying Team North America versus Team Europe?
You could do that, or you can have a bunch of mini 3-on-3 teams and go even
Like
deeper
Team
than that.
Canada
Do
3-on-3.
Canada, USA, Sweden, Finland.
But then I feel like you can't get 2 out of hand, though. You can only have a certain amount, right?
And that's the issue you run to. How many All-Stars are going to be Canadian? How many? But if you
Could
look
you do it
around,
by continent? Or would you not have enough players? I don't know if you'd have enough players to do it like 4 continents.
yeah, the only continents that are in the NHL are
You'd have
Asia, Europe, and North America.
you can't get a 4th somehow. There's not a lot of Australian players.
Yeah, no. I mean, I'm sure
Antarctica's out of
there's
there.
a couple of players. I'm sure, like, I don't know. Team Europe versus Team North America is probably
South
the best.
America?
No. That wouldn't shock me if someone has like ties to Brazil or something like that. But
Well, what if you did like Asia? What was the other one?
Asia, Europe, and USA. But Asia is just Russia.
Okay, but yeah, you could
But
do
also,
like Canada, Europe, USA, Asia.
yeah, but also Asia would be so small. Russian players would have to be born on the west side of Russia. Most NHL players are on the European side of Russia. So, like, Russia's the only country in the world that's part of 2 continents. And the most populated side is the European side. So, like, I don't know. The best way to do it would be Russia, Europe, USA, and Canada would be my guess. Because you have enough Russian players, Canadian players, and American players to separate them. And then you could throw Finland and Sweden, and if Kopitar makes it, Slovenia, or whoever it is that makes it from those countries.
Team other.
Team other. Well, I liked the World Cup of hockey. I mean, Team Europe and Team North America were very cheeky, but they were good, and they were better than people thought they were going to be. Team North America went 2-1. They didn't make it to the next round because they have a tiebreaker.
Mm-hmm.
And so, there are so many ways they could figure it out. I'll be a little surprised if they go to Toronto next year with it being, as dry and boring as it was. But one thing I did like, the Tkachuk brothers, Matthew won MVP.
Mm-hmm.
Tiebreaker clearly goes to the hometown kid because there was another person who had the same production as him. And, they gave the tiebreaker went to the kid who plays for the hometown team. But seeing Brady and Matthew play together was really, really cool.
Yeah, I thought it was cool because they said it was something they've always dreamed of doing, and getting to do that in the All-Star games got to be pretty fun when you could just go out there and you don't have to take things serious. You can just be with your brother, have a good time. And the Atlantic won for the first time ever. I just realized that they didn't win it either. But being brothers, it's got to be a cool moment for them for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Matthew gets traded to Florida. He's in the same division as his brother. They both make the All-Star team. They're both having sick years, especially Matthew, who might end up second or third in scoring this season. He might get a Hart Trophy nod, especially if Florida makes the playoffs barely. Just brilliant stuff.
And when you're an athlete, you don't get to see your family too often. You don't get to see your brother, especially when he's also playing in the NHL. So it's like, that has to be a special moment. It'd be special for me if I was playing and I get to hang out with my brother for a weekend and play some hockey and just have a good time. It's had to be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And I heard Matthew hosted like everyone, like their extended family and all of it at his mansion that he bought in South Florida. One thing I didn't know.
Hey, Foster.
Hey, Foster, what's going on? Ryan Whitney was talking about this on Spit and Chicklets. Apparently this BBT arena that Florida plays at in Sunrise it's apparently worse than Arizona, where they're building before playing at the college, where it was just like in the middle of nowhere and it was hard to get to.
Really?
Yeah, and anybody who
a little surprising, actually.
Yeah, it is. And anybody who like makes fun of the Panthers for not having a big fan base because their lower bowl's empty for every game, it's not because the Panthers have a bad fan base. It's because it's extremely hard and inconvenient to get to. And if they moved into Fort Lauderdale or something instead of playing in Sunrise, it'd be a packed house every single night for that team.
Do you think that's a possibility or just something that people want and it's just never going to come to fruition?
Well, I do think if there's enough of an outcry over time, stuff does happen. Like, look at what's going on with the Chicago Bears and Arlington, and
It's going to take a while, though.
yeah, uh, relative to normal things, but it being done within the next 5 or 6 years, I would consider that short order.
Mhm.
Considering everything that's going to be done. Um, Florida, I don't know. We'll see what happens with them. It'd be nice if they were a little bit better this year. They've taken a big step back and things aren't clicking, but they've been hot lately. And Matthew Kachuk was unbelievable
Mhm.
and has been unbelievable. We'll actually get to him again in a second, but he took the MVP away from Dylan Larkin. He was outstanding. Detroit Red Wings,
Oh, yeah.
Atlantic Division. He deserved the MVP just as much.
Yeah, I mean, he had a hat trick in the final game, which was a big reason as to why they won the championship. And, we know how capable Dylan Larkin is. We know how skillful he is. And it was good to see that in the All Star game, but maybe he could start stepping that up in the regular season too. He's only got 15 goals this year. He's way, 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 way more capable of getting many more goals than that. So hopefully that the way he performed in the championship against the Central Division, maybe that's like a wake up call for him, and maybe that'll continue his success into the regular season, like we'll talk about with Matthew Kachuk.
Yeah, I completely agree. Larkin I think he's on an 80-point pace, and he's
Yeah,
not as much.
he's got 44 points. He's like on an 48 games, so that's like an almost he's gonna 80-point pace.
Yeah, which is really good. He's not as much of a goal scorer as we all thought he was going to be when he first came in, but he sets up, and I'm sure if he moved to wing and got a centerman like Bedard,
Mm,
I'm sure his goal numbers would rise again. I'm not sure. I heard this about Dylan Larkin. Listen to this.
okay.
He grew up in Michigan. He played for the United States National Development Program, which their headquarters is in, you guessed it, Michigan. Then he went to the University of.
Michigan.
Then he gets drafted in the first round by the one NHL team that resides in.
Michigan.
And you win a new car. Dylan Larkin has only ever lived or played in Michigan, which is very, very rare for an NHL player to have nothing elsewhere from where they lived.
He
Like,
needs to pick it up though.
yeah, well, his contract is set to expire. There's not too much agreement on how much he's worth. Is he a better player than Bo Horvat? He's been more consistent than Bo Horvat.
I think he's got more potential, maybe.
Yeah, he's been more consistent than Horvat. This isn't the first year he's been on an 80-point pace.
Mm-hmm.
Horvat was good last year, good the year before. He's a consistent 20-goal man, but they're paying him for what they think he can continue doing this year into future years, which we'll get to that in a second.
I got to take.
Go ahead.
I think you might disagree with me, but just because, Dylan Larkin is not the guy who he once was in terms of his how young he was. He's kind of grown in the NHL.
He's a veteran.
He's a veteran. Like I would say he's a true veteran. He's not a veteran who's played 2 or 3 years in the NHL. He's a true veteran.
Yeah.
I would give him that.
I agree.
Given that, since he's got that title, being a true veteran, I don't think. Do you know his contract he's on right now?
I think it's in the 6s.
Me personally, I don't think he's worth more than 7.5. Even though he's on an 80-point pace, and we would say like normally 8 million, I don't think he's worth more than 7.5. Maybe 8. I'll go for 8, but that would be the cap for me.
Yeah, and apparently he wants 9. He's not going to get that.
9, that's tough. He ain't getting 9. I wouldn't give him 9.
I wouldn't give him 9. Like, you want to be paid more than Jack Hughes?
Yeah, 7.5 seems realistic.
Yeah, I think 7.5 is a really good number. No, I do agree with that.
Because now he's, like I said, he's becoming more of a veteran, that true veteran. But you're still only on an 80-point pace, so I don't want to give you 8 million. If this was like your third year in the league and you're on an 80-point pace, you're worth 8 million, maybe more. But given that true veteran status, I'd cap him at right around 7.5, maybe 8.
Yeah, I agree. I would move him to wing and tell him to go wild. That's what I would do if I was him. I'd want to play wing for the Red Wings because I do think the Red Wings are going to be very, very good very soon. We'll get to why. They're a pretty good team this year. They're not.
Oh, yeah.
They're not going to make the playoffs, but they're not bad. You don't go into a game against the Red Wings and go, okay, we better smoke these guys. You're going to get a hard game. They got Mo Seider and Lucas Raymond, and Zadina and Larkin, Bertuzzi. They got good players, and they have one of the best GMs in the league, a GM that's already created a dynasty with another organization, that is still feeling the fruits of his labor, even though he's been gone for a couple years. Talking about the Tampa Bay Lightning, of course. Larkin's a very interesting upcoming contract. We'll see if he gets traded before the deadline. His name will be out there, but if they don't trade him, I think they will look to extend him. Just real quick thoughts on McDavid and McKinnon's trip to the All-Star game in general, the weekend as a whole for them.
I think McKinnon had more fun than McDavid because one, McDavid didn't really perform in the All-Star game. He only had the one goal. That was it. And in the skills competition, he was only in the one skill and he didn't win. And it just seemed like with McKinnon, you had Makar with you, and Makar was like, wasn't Makar in the tank, if I'm not mistaken, or vice versa? Yeah.
Yeah, and Rantanen was there.
Right, and Rantanen was there, so you kind of like, okay, that's more fun for them. Like they could have fun with that. And it just seemed like he had better productions. He had 5 points, 3 of them being goals. So I mean, I think as a whole, McKinnon had the better experience of the two. But for McDavid, I mean, he's already been there so many times. It's like he doesn't need to have those experiences anymore.
Yeah, I agree. And McDavid is a cyborg. He just doesn't look like he's ever having fun, which is wild to me because McDavid is it in Canada. Think of how popular LeBron James is in the United States, and think about how popular like Ronaldo is worldwide, and like Shohei Ohtani in Japan. Like McDavid is that in Canada. He's everywhere.
I also found out that McDavid doesn't like Mickey Mouse, so I'm out on McDavid.
You're willing to like die on a hill that a human being must like Mickey Mouse?
No, but why hate him? What's the reasoning? Bad childhood or something we don't know?
I mean,
it's a wild take. Would you say you hate Mickey Mouse?
No, but
Okay.
what do I hate?
But why does he even have to bring it up?
Besides the skills competition.
It's like, I don't know. It was a little weird.
No, that's weird. But like,
I feel like that's not something you say either. You're gonna get a lot of heat for it. A lot of Disney fans out there. Now you just said it on national TV.
You said it on national TV. Was it because they were on ESPN?
Well, no, because
ESPN's owned by Disney.
I know. It was because PK Subban, when they were asking what nicknames you want to go by.
Oh.
I forgot the nickname he gave.
McDavid ended up going with McJesus.
No, I know, but one of the options I think had to do with Mickey Mouse. And he goes, "Oh, I don't like Mickey Mouse. I can't stand the guy. I hate him or whatever." And I was like, "All right, that's just weird. Just why say that? Just say I'm probably not going to choose Mickey." Like, I don't know. Just weird to me.
That's actually pretty funny.
So, out on McDavid.
That's hilarious. Crosby and Ovechkin overall weekend for them. I mean,
that was funny that each goal they scored, the other assisted on it, and vice versa.
Yeah, how lucky was Adam Fox? How much fun do you think that guy had to be having playing behind them?
It's got to be incredible. I mean, they had to have. The weird thing is, every goal that they scored, the other assisted on. There were a total of 3 goals, 3
assists. They were all pretty.
They were all pretty, and not only that, but then they also had the experience of being in the breakaway challenge, where they were together with Sergei Ovechkin. So I think they enjoyed their time very well. They enjoyed this probably better than some of their other All-Star moments. They're taking it in because nothing's for granted, so you never know when the last time it could be. We don't know if these guys will ever play with each other in the All-Star game again. The formats may change. They may never get a chance to play with each other. You could have an off year. Look at Kane. Kane didn't go to the All-Star game. Right? Is Kane and Taves ever going to play in the All-Star game again? Probably not. And you just the stuff like that you never know when the last time is going to be. So I think they really took this moment, and it was a more memorable moment for them over any other one. And I mean, good for them. It was a lot of fun to watch, and they embraced it all. So yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm happy that they were able to go out there and perform the way that they did. It looked like they were having fun, which is obviously the most important thing to me. And Frank, this is how we're going to kind of end the All-Star game. Excuse me. Bo Horvat was traded right before the All-Star game. It was in between our last show and now. and he was traded from the Vancouver Canucks to the New York Islanders, and he was Vancouver's representative at the All-Star game. So they put, which to me, this is the most NHL thing of all time, they put an Islanders logo on a Western Conference jersey and made him play for the Pacific Division. I would have let him play for the Pacific Division in a Western jersey, but putting the Islanders logo on the Western Conference, that just seemed unnecessary to me. But he went there. He had a good time. He's now a member of the Islanders before they were even able to play their first game with Bo Horvat, which he did score a goal. Horvat signed an 8-year extension worth $8.5 million. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of term. He did make a good play with Elias Pettersson. They played together one last time as a member of the Pacific Division All-Stars, knowing that that would probably be the last time they ever played together as teammates. What do you make of the whole Bo Horvat ordeal?
I agree. It's a little weird. Oh, obviously, I think legally by NHL rules, you have to have the Islanders logo on there because, he doesn't play for them. He doesn't play for the Canucks anymore. So in that sense, yeah, I get it. It makes sense that he plays for the Pacific Division if he made the All-Star game because of how it was on the Canucks. However, with Pettersson being from the Canucks as well, it's not like you're gypped of a Vancouver player making it. So in that, it's like a little like I can understand if Bo Horvat was the only Canuck that made it, then it's like, well, yeah, you have to have one from each team. The contract extension, 8.5. I think that we might have said that last week. I think we nailed it on the head like that. He's right about 8.5. Yeah, so we nailed that. An Islander though for 8 years. That's very interesting. I don't know how well the Islanders are going to be. Haven't been too high on them this year. Wasn't last year, and if I'm being honest, really not for the future either. So it's a very interesting decision to sign 8 years with them. But maybe just like Lou Lamoriello said, maybe this is what they need. Maybe he's at one of the missing pieces to get him over the hump.
I can't believe that the Islanders did it, and I can't believe that Bo Horvat did it.
I agree.
Like, I'm stunned. Like, you want to play for the Islanders for the next 8 years? Are you
That's wild.
serious?
Honestly, it is.
Like, they're not going to be good. They have one of the worst farm teams in the NHL. They're
They're all in.
mediocre this year. They're all in, but like they're old. Besides Bo Horvat, and like
They're all in on one player.
you know what? I'm happy they made a decision one way or the other though. Instead of just sitting around running it back again next year with Brock Nelson and Anders Lee and Beauvillier, and they traded Beauvillier away to get Bo Horvat. They're showing the guys, hey, we're not actually going to rebuild. We're going to be all in. We're going to try and win with this group that we've been building for so long. I do respect picking a decision. If I don't agree with the decision, that doesn't mean I'm right. You know, maybe the Islanders were in Game 7 of back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals.
Right.
And they lost to Tampa Bay in those Game 7s. And they were a win away from going to the Cup where they might have won. So, you know, it's not like they're dead. But I don't know. I think it's
a wild move.
Interesting. It's interesting times in New York. We'll see how it works out for them. One thing I wanted to touch on before we move into talking about the Athletics ranking of all the farm systems, Jack Hughes is up to 35 goals. What an absolute fucking G.
I mean, this is the year I think he reaches the 100-point ceiling. I truly believe that. 50 goals is not out of the question. However, it's not a guarantee either. You need 15 more goals. Very possible. There's definitely enough games left where you don't need to score every game, obviously. So I think that 50 goals is still in the possibility. 100 points, I would almost say, is a guarantee. And because of that, the Devils are where they are right now. So they're just going to keep cooking. As long as Jack Hughes can keep this going, got a promising young man for the Devils VP.
He's on pace for 107 points and 57 goals.
I think the goals pace drops a little bit, but he'll get the points, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And he's 21. So what's he going to be like when he's 26, 27? I mean, we could be talking about like right there with McDavid and Matthews. Like I do believe that's possible. And, you know, he's got a 6 center and he's sure backing him up defensively.
Gotta feel good.
It does feel really good. And, you know, a thing that makes me feel good in addition to it is the fact that The Athletic released their prospect farm rankings from 32 all the way down to numero uno. Today is February 8th. This project started for Scott Wheeler of The Athletic. I believe it was January 7th where he started counting down one a day since. And it's very much, and you could pick on things that you want to talk about. A lot of the teams very low on the ranking: the Colorado Avalanche, the Boston Bruins, Tampa Bay Lightning, Pittsburgh
which is
Penguins.
scary for them
Yeah,
because they're not going to stay great forever.
those are teams that are great now that traded away a lot in order to win cups and be competitive. The Bruins better win a cup this year, otherwise they're in big trouble. Pittsburgh won multiple cups with Crosby and Malkin. They certainly have no regrets with the fact that they're down there. Same thing with Tampa Bay. You know, Tampa Bay's probably got one or two more kicks at the can. I'm not necessarily going to predict it, but they believe they have a chance this year and next year. If they don't, though, they're not going to be upset about the fact that they have a bottom five farm because of the success they've had. I mean, the ultimate goal is to win the Stanley Cup, not have a really good farm system. But, you know, those teams near the bottom that haven't won the cup in a really long time, like the New York Islanders, who since this list came out, I think they're ranked, what were they ranked? 28?
In the 20s somewhere, high 20s, yeah.
They're dead last now because, in my opinion, because they traded their number one guy. Aatu Räty is a Vancouver Canuck for Bo Horvat. So you were already low. You're a bubble playoff team, and you traded your number one guy.
That's rough.
That's a takeaway that I have. And I'm not just saying this in a biased way. The top two teams are the Minnesota Wild and the New Jersey Devils. They're 1 and 2 in that order.
Mm-hmm.
Those are two of my three favorite teams. Obviously, the Devils are my number one favorite team, but I do enjoy cheering on the Wild along with the Bruins and Blackhawks. Those are the only two teams relatively high that are like good now.
Which is good.
That is good because you'll be supplementing your NHL roster that's already good with some of these prospects. That's how dynasties are built.
Right.
I'm not saying the Wild or the Devils are going to become a dynasty. That's really hard. But if there were teams set up to do so right now, it would be those teams that have great prospect pools and are already great at the NHL level. Like when the Hawks, you know, they had, you know, a pretty good foundation with guys like Sharp and Keith and Seabrook, Crawford. Then you start inserting Taves and Kane, right? Like you start inserting Luke Hughes and Simon Nemec if you're the Devils. If you're the Wild, you're this really good team. You're dealing with some cap issues this year, which caused you to trade Fiala, who was so good that he's an all-star. But like next year, there's going to be a lot of cap relief from the Parise Suter contract, so you can make a couple moves, and you also have this great farm. Mm-hmm. Like they're going to be really good for a long time too. So, you know, outstanding stuff. I know there's one specific team in the top 5 that you want to touch on for sure.
Yeah, I mean, having the Blackhawks in the top 5 is a big accomplishment, given where they were a handful of years ago. And now that they're in the top 5, things are going in the right direction. I think ultimately on why they're in the top 5, they had a great 2022 draft. That had to boost them. I don't know where they were last year at this time.
Low 20s.
And their draft has just been, I mean, 3 first-round draft picks was absolutely huge for them. Getting Korchinski, Nazar, and I'm forgetting the third one.
Rinzer?
Sam Rinzel.
Rinzel.
Yeah, and then having them, and then you got guys in your farm system like Colton Dock, Del Maestro. That's just huge to have. And what I'm seeing is that they're going in the right direction. And then you look at this year and what they have in the draft this year: 2 firsts, 2 seconds, 2 thirds, and one of those potentially being Bedard. There's no question why they have a top 5 farm system, and that's going to go a long way in this rebuild. So I love what I'm seeing from them. Really, I mean, there's nothing else we could say except we got to start building the farm up. That's where the future is going. The next future of the Blackhawks is going to come from the farm team. So I like what I'm seeing.
Yeah, and if they add Bedard, Fantilli, or Carlson, I think they'll, you know, jump even higher. I know Korchinski will probably come out because I think he'll probably play in the NHL, and so will Lucas Reichel next year, which might lower them a little bit. But also, like, if you're adding, like, over the summer, they might be number 1 because over the summer won't take out Korchinski. It won't take out, you know, whoever, Lucas Reichel or anyone that plays next year, and it'll add the guys from this year's draft. So it wouldn't surprise me if they were 1 or 2. It also depends on what the Wild and Devils do. You know, if the Devils trade Alexander Holtz for Timo Meier,
which is a possibility.
It is a possibility. And Alexander Holtz played with William Eklund in Sweden before their draft year. They were both top 15 picks in their draft, or I think they were separate years. And the Sharks ended up with Eklund. Holtz and Eklund are very good friends. It wouldn't shock me if the Sharks try to make that connection at the NHL level and they give up Meyer. Like, that would lower the Devils a little bit. I think Nemec will make his NHL debut this season, but I'm not sure he sticks for the playoffs. Same thing with Luke Hughes, but they'll both play next year. So then you start to become like the Rangers, who were in the top 5 last year, but I believe on this list they're number 17. Well, so let's think of the guys that have come out over the last however many years. Lafreniere, Kako, Hedel, Keandre Miller.
Mm-hmm.
These are all guys playing in the NHL now, so your farm system's naturally going to drop in the rankings a little bit. It's not necessarily a bad thing when you're one of those teams. The only teams that are in trouble prospect-wise are the teams that haven't won within the last 10 years and are still at the bottom.
That's tough.
Yeah, like the Bruins, Penguins, Lightning, and Avalanche have all won with their current cores. And the Bruins would like to win one more. I think they probably feel like they need to win one more to be successful. But I don't know. It's very hard to win. It's very hard to build these farms. I'm happy with how things shook out, though.
Yeah. I'm happy the Hawks are in the top 5.
Yeah, and they're only going to grow from there. One thing I wrote down that I didn't touch on, Matthew Tkachuk had 5 assists or 5 points in his first game back from the All-Star game, and they smoked the Lightning, and then the Lightning lost the very next night to San Jose. Florida, excuse me, does Florida have a chance?
No, they're done. Dominant performance, big win against the Lightning, 7-win dominant win. Tkachuk just continuing his heater from the All-Star game. They got too much ground to make up, though. It's going to be too hard to make up. I think they have like 4 extra games played, and you're still like a handful of points out. That's rough. They're done. I thought they were going to make the playoffs this year. I'm a little sad in terms of that, but yeah, they're cooked. There's nothing Tkachuk could do. There's nothing that team could do. It's over.
It's over, according to Frank. We'll see what Matthew's able to do. He has been on fire lately. He's the NHL second leading scorer since the calendar flipped to 2023. Only McDavid has more points. Frank, there hasn't been much hockey other than the nasty skills competition and the pretty good all-star game. So, that's where we wrap up. There's only been like 10 games since we resumed, and it's pretty status quo at this point. Next week, there will be lots of hockey. You can read a lot of my hockey work. I've gone over the Blackhawks and the Devils being in the top 5, and I'm going to write about the Minnesota Wild and where they are as an organization with these prospects for tomorrow. So I encourage everyone to follow at Vinny Parisi on Twitter and read all that. Frank, it's time to talk about the Super Bowl. And
What's the Super Bowl?
I'll tell you in period number 2. Welcome to period 2. Period 2 and 3, we're going to talk about the Super Bowl. Deal with it. Frank, the Super Bowl is a very eating holiday.
Mm-hmm.
People like to eat while they watch the Super Bowl.
Of course.
What are your favorite snacks that you're looking forward to?
It's the chalk answers. Your pizza, your dip, your wings. Anything new. I like new creations. I can't wait to have a little meatball sub, which is probably not very common at many Super Bowl parties, but I love them. I also like the idea of having themed creations, kind of like what you guys plan to make, your Philly cheesesteak sliders and your Kansas City barbecue sliders. That's thinking. I like stuff like that. But in the end, it's just I like snacky type of foods. You don't really sit down and have a meal during the Super Bowl. It's kind of like a social thing. Grab a little plate, a little bit of everything, and you go watch the Super Bowl, watch the halftime show, have a good time. And everything I named is like stuff that I will genuinely be eating on the Super Bowl this year.
100%. I plan on making sliders, Kansas City barbecue, and Philadelphia cheesesteak.
Yep. See, I like that.
Very much looking forward to that. That's the thing I'm most looking forward to in terms of snack. Anyone who brings buffalo chicken dip is the MVP of the party. It's one of my favorites.
Bills aren't in it.
I don't care.
You can't have it. Bills
they are in it according to you, though. You guaranteed it in freaking every month of 2022.
And because that, no buffalo chicken dip.
I'm eating buffalo chicken dip. It's not my fault Josh Allen forgot how to throw the football after week 6. Frank, do you ever watch the Puppy Bowl?
I do. Team Rough versus Team Fluff. The Lombardi Trophy. Huh?
The Lombardi Trophy?
Yeah, that's what
they call it?
Yeah. It's Team Rough versus Team Fluff.
Interesting. Now I know why I don't watch it. Um,
Hater. Vinny
no,
hates animals.
I'm not a hater. It's just I'm always getting ready for the Super Bowl during the Puppy Bowl, so I've literally never watched it in my entire life. I don't even know what they do.
Did you know this is the 19th year that they're doing the Puppy Bowl?
Really?
And over 100 dogs will be featured in it.
Wow.
And the thing that's cool about it is all dogs that you see are up for adoption. You could adopt them,
Oh
which is
wow.
which is a good way of like promoting animals and like trying to get people to adopt them. So I think that's always pretty cool too.
Absolutely.
I looked at the history of the Puppy Bowl over the years, and I was only able to get data from the last 8, which was weird. It's like they had Puppy Bowls 1 through whatever, but it said like the score, there was no score. It was the result wasn't there for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe things were different. But the past 8 meetings, it's gone 4-4, 4 wins apiece.
Wow. Team Fluff and Team Rough?
Yeah.
Huh.
Rough is like RUFF, like rough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, not like rough, like ROUGH.
I get it. It's the Puppy Bowl.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
not the
some people just
Sandpaper
might not
Bowl.
think that though.
Maybe I'll watch the Puppy Bowl this year. I'll record it and then watch it after the Super Bowl.
There you go.
Frank, the Super Bowl, though, is set to feature the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles, who, in your opinion, are the top 10 players in the Super Bowl
From either team.
from either team.
Do I have to go in order?
I would go from 10 to 1.
10. All right. I go at number 10, Hassan Reddick. He's a great defensive player. He had 16 and a half sacks this year. He had 2 versus the 49ers. I think he's going to make a big play in this game. Darius Slay is my number 9 cornerback. Jason Kelsey is going to make an impact in this game for the Eagles. He's my number 8. A.J. Brown's number 7. We know how talented this man is. The plays that he's able to make, truly unbelievable. And we saw that in that one catch that really wasn't a catch, but everybody thought it was a catch that wasn't reviewed. But still, he makes things look pretty. We know how good he is. Number 6 would be the center for the the Chiefs, Creed Humphrey. He's one of the best centers in the game, to be honest with you. So I thought 6 was a very fair number for him. Chris Jones for the Chiefs, defensive lineman. He's fantastic. He had 2 sacks versus the Bengals. I think he could have a similar performance potentially in this game versus the Eagles. Jalen Hurts would be number 4. Drafted in 2020, already making an impact, making the Super Bowl. He's very talented. 3, Travis Kelce, the best tight end in the league, probably, when you got Patrick Mahomes throwing to you. I mean, it's unbelievable to watch that duo. 2 is Lane Johnson, simply for the fact he's been playing injured and he has not allowed a sack in 2 years. 2 years he has not allowed a sack, which is just unbelievable. That's why he gets number 2 in my opinion, because if you're not going to allow a sack, that's like a huge game changer, especially in the Super Bowl. 1 obviously would have to be Patrick Mahomes, hands down the best player in the Super Bowl this year. Each game, people tend to doubt him. It's just they prove us wrong. Year in, year out, just prove us wrong.
We have every agreed except 1.
Uh-oh.
And they're like different orders, but the same 10 players except for 1, I think. And they're both guys who your guy would be 11 on mine. I'm sure mine would be 11 on yours. I'm being like dead serious here. We have a little bit of difference of opinion on where they rank, but I also have Hassan Reddick at number 10. He's one of the best linebackers in the NFL for the Eagles. I think he is probably going to make a big impact this week. He's going to have Patrick Mahomes running.
Yep.
He's, if Mahomes has an issue with his ankle still, that's not going to be as easy to deal with when a guy like Hassan Reddick is chasing you. I put Creed Humphrey at 9. I think the 2 best centers in the NFL are playing in this game. I can't think of a center on any team that's not in the Super Bowl that's better. Like I legitimately would take either of these guys. Number 8 is Chris Jones, a little injured, but defensive tackle. He's one of the best in the entire league. I have him at 8. Then there's a run of Eagles here. Number 7, A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. He went to Tennessee, made an impact there, made Ryan Tannehill the number 1 seeded quarterback 2 years in a row. Then he goes to Philly, and all of a sudden things open up for the Eagles offense, and they're able to take advantage of the rest of their great roster. I think he's an outstanding wide receiver. He's probably the best true wide receiver in this game. Number 6 is Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts, excuse me, is going to be he's the second best quarterback in this game, but he's also going to finish second in MVP to the guy who's the first best quarterback in this game. I think when people are making their top 10 lists of quarterbacks going into the 2023 season, Jalen Hurts will be on a lot of people's lists. He's not quite in the top 5 yet for me. I need to see it for another year. But, he's 6, 7, 8 right now in the entire NFL. He's outstanding, and he gives me hope for what the Bears can build around with Justin Fields. Number 4 is Lane Johnson. There probably hasn't been a better tackle in the NFL in the last 20 years. And you could argue ever. What he's been able to do to help protect Jalen Hurts, who is a mobile quarterback, so you obviously need good tackles in order to keep your guy standing on his feet, especially ones that guard the blind side. Never easy. Something I would rank it as the third most important position in the NFL. Obviously, if I'm building a football team, you want your quarterback. That is number 1 most important thing. Number 2 is an edge rusher. That's the second most important thing. Number 3 is the offensive tackle. If you have good tackles, you have a chance to have a really good offense as long as your quarterback is moderate. Number 3, I have Jason Kelce. Jason Kelce is right there with Creed Humphrey as the best center in the NFL, but I think the impact that he's made with the Eagles this season deserves him a couple rankings up on this list with him and Lane Johnson on the same offensive line. It really shouldn't shock anyone why the Eagles have been as good as they've been this season. You could talk about, who they've played and whatnot. Yeah, it was easy for them to beat Daniel Jones, and it was easy for them to, beat whoever was playing quarterback for the Commanders this season. Those guys are playing against good defenses. There are really good defensive players trying to get to Jalen Hurts in the NFC, and Kelce and Johnson have made it very difficult for them. Number 2 is Travis Kelce. I will never call Kelce the greatest tight end of all time because that will always be Gronk, in my opinion, but you can make a sound argument for Kelce as the greatest tight end of all time as well. And his chemistry with the number 1 player on this list, Patrick Mahomes, is unsung. It's probably the best receiver quarterback chemistry in the NFL. And Kelce's not a wide receiver, but he's a receiving tight end. I just think it's one of the best offensive duos in the NFL and maybe even NFL history. The way Andy Reid schemes them to be able to, have Kelce open, or if it's double team, Patrick Mahomes is able to make a good throw. They're just unbelievable together. And that is my list of the 10 best players in the Super Bowl this year.
So I think we had 10, 7, and 1 were all the same rankings, and then we had 9 of the same 10 players, I think.
Yeah.
I had Darius Slay.
Yeah, and I would put Slay 11.
And I had him high. I had him at 9. And who'd you have that wasn't?
Do you have A.J. Brown?
Yeah, of course.
Do you have Chris Jones?
Yeah.
Do you have Lane Johnson?
Yeah, he's my number 2. I don't remember you saying somebody I don't have, which is weird, because then how do we not have? There has to be.
Frank, I'm so stupid.
Did you only do 9?
I only did 9.
Did you really?
I skipped 5. My list goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
I was gonna say because I didn't hear anybody that we didn't have. Or that I didn't have.
I am so dumb. I am just a dumb human. We'll put what's his name in at 10 and move everybody up 1. Darius Slay absolutely deserves to be in the top 10. We have the same exact 10 players, which is borderline remarkable.
That's funny.
You know your football when you give respect to offensive tackles and centers, and it'd be easy to go out there and just name all the weapons that are like, the electric players, right? Like, go name all the great running backs and wide receivers. And no, you don't win football games without Lane Johnson. You don't win football games without Creed Humphrey or Jason Kelsey.
That's why I'm sitting here and I'm like, dude hasn't said one I don't have. How could we? There's got to be something wrong here.
Mush brain.
It happens. It happens.
Absolute
Okay.
mush brain. But yeah, you made a very good list. I'm impressed.
Thank you.
I
So
am
did you.
impressed. You made a very good list. You want to hear some of these stats?
I can't wait. I've been waiting for this.
Yeah. This is honestly wild. Hold on, I gotta find it really quick. If you can't tell, I'm not 100%, and so it's pretty obvious that because I don't have my shit together, but I have it together just enough in order to, make sure that
Take your
we're
time.
doing this. So the Chiefs and the Eagles both were 16-3 so far this season.
Mm-hmm.
They both scored 546 points.
Wow.
They both have 6 All-Pros, including a Kelsey brother and their quarterback. And they were each the number 1 seed.
It's pretty remarkable. It's a little weird.
Pretty evenly matched. I
Very
think Philly has a better roster. There's a reason we've had 6 players from the Eagles in the top 10 and 4 from the Chiefs. But the Chiefs are very top heavy. Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelsey are 1 and 2 on pretty much everyone's list of the 10 best players. But
It's funny. I didn't even have Kelsey at 2.
Oh, yeah, you had Kelsey at what, 4?
3.
Oh,
I think
yeah,
Lane Johnson's
but you put Lane
unremarkable.
Johnson. I
He hasn't
love
given
that.
up a sack in 2 years.
Frank, I love hearing you give the big beefy boy respect. You give that beefy boy respect and don't apologize for it. I mean,
It's unbelievable.
without the fat guys in football doesn't work. I'm sorry, it just doesn't.
They don't get a lot of credit, I think. If you ask some people to develop a top 10 lift, it's going to be all offensive players.
Yeah, and
It just falls.
if they do get credit, it's as a unit.
Yeah.
Be like, oh, the Chiefs' offensive line, the Eagles' offensive line. They won't name guys individually. And if you
Right.
if you don't understand how good Lane Johnson is and what he does because if all of a sudden you're missing Lane Johnson, you probably move over someone who plays guard or tackle or backup tackle into playing the starting tackle position, and it just messes the whole thing up. Or
Right.
if you have a guy playing center that is normally a guard, which does happen, if your top center gets hurt, a lot of the times a guard will step it and play center, and that's not good. And I think it's no surprise that the top 2 centers in the NFL are meeting in the Super Bowl this year. Each team has a very good tight end. I do think that's changed the NFL lately. Goddard didn't make either of our lists, but he's a very good player. And then, of course, quarterback.
Also, Devontae Smith.
Yeah.
Didn't make our list, but impact player.
Outstanding. Outstanding player. So, Frank, you got any prop bets?
I just wrote down a few of them. I don't know which way I would go with them. I just wrote them down like we could discuss them and stuff like that. If I wrote down every prop bet there was, we'd be here till 8 o'clock tonight because I think I'm not even kidding. I think I read there's like 230 something, 230, 240 something different ones. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of different, and it's just like there's literally anything you could think of. There's a prop for it. It's just unbelievable. They have like here, first commercial to play, like Doritos or M&Ms. Like that's a prop. Like you can make a prop about anything. That's one.
They don't have to be the first commercial played in the Super Bowl. It's just which one of those 2 will you see first?
Mine would be Doritos.
Yeah, it's always early in the first quarter.
But there is those M&M commercials where they're all the cartoon M&Ms.
Yeah, but they got rid of them. They're only running with the one M&M for a little while. They tweeted about it a while ago.
Oh, really?
So I honestly think Doritos is like a wonderful, and unless this change,
there's some good value on Doritos.
But I wonder if this change made them pay extra money for an earlier slot.
That's a possibility too.
I'm talking about M&Ms.
I know. It's a possibility too, is what I'm saying.
We'll see. I'm gonna keep that. I'm gonna keep that in mind though.
When you're watching, keep a mental note too.
Well, I mean, you'll be sitting next to me, I'm assuming.
Probably.
Yeah, we got to be talking about these prop bets.
There's also color of Gatorade poured on the winning coach. That's every year. That's always a prop every year. To me, that depends on which team wins. In all honesty, I think if the Chiefs win, it could be red. If the Eagles win, it could be blue. I don't know. They're not going to have green Gatorade. Maybe like a lime green or like a yellow.
Well, lime green and yellow are normally together.
Maybe a yellow.
What
But
about
remember
clear?
last year when the Rams won, wasn't it blue? It was their color. Right?
Yeah, you're
And I
right.
guarantee you if the Bengals would have won, it would have been orange. I mean, it's just come on. Don't be stupid here, right? It's like
Yeah.
I think that's all dependent on the winning team. So, wait, would you say what about what?
Clear.
Like a white clear?
Yeah, like the it's
That's always
I think
that's
it's
always a
cherry. It's cherry
yeah,
technically.
it's glacier cherry.
Yeah.
That's always yeah. Skylar says, "What about white Gatorade for Eagles?" That's always a high favorite because like in sports you don't see the clear Gatorade like ever, so it's always like a very high odds on that. Also, they have Rihanna's hair color and dress color. What it will it be? I think black was a heavy favorite. I think that's what it is right now, and I don't know if she's somebody who tends to dye her hair a lot. Obviously not, because it was pretty heavily favored. I remember last year it was like, what colors will Eminem's shoes be? How many people will be wearing glass or sunglasses? That was from last year. So obviously hair color, dress color, that's all gonna be there as well. Because there's a lot of halftime props that go into the Super Bowl as well, which makes the halftime even more fun, in my opinion. Will a touchdown be overturned by replay? That's an interesting one.
I'd
And
say
the
yes.
yes is like only plus 220 ish, I think.
That's not bad.
It's not bad. You think it'd be a little bit more for a touchdown to be overturned by
Yeah.
replay? Overturned, not a play being called non-touch. See, if a play is not called a touchdown, it's called a touchdown. You don't win.
Yeah.
It has to be called a touchdown and not be a touchdown, which makes things even harder. Which the odds should be, in my opinion, a little bit more. Wouldn't you think?
I would think it would be more.
Like plus 400 maybe, but plus 200. I don't know if there's a lot of juice there, enough juice.
Yeah.
This is also every year, and this one's just fun to discuss with the family. Like it'll be brought up. I guarantee you, it'll be brought up on Sunday. People will be talking about this one. Will the over under the length of the national anthem 2 minutes and 5 seconds? Always talked about. I know my brother will ask me, like, oh, what's the over under on the national anthem? Chris Stapleton singing it this year. I don't know. I know he's a country singer. I don't know much about him. I think the last time a country singer sang the national anthem, it clocked in at 2 minutes and 4 seconds. So I wonder if that's playing into this 2 minutes and 5 seconds. Because they're saying like maybe these country guys will, sing at a similar tone and stuff like that. So 2 minutes and 5 seconds seems a bit lengthy. If I remember in years past, I thought they were like the high ones, like a minute 57. 2 minutes and 5, maybe there's something we don't know. Maybe he's planning something up his sleeve. What do you stand on that? Obviously, you
Um.
probably don't know either. You probably know as much as Chris Stapleton as I do.
Yeah. I mean, I've done it in the past where like I go on YouTube and see where they sang the national anthem at
Yeah,
other events, and then clock that, and then make my bet based on my findings from that. I've
I
won.
remember.
I've won doing that.
I remember there was one year, and it could have been last year. I don't think it was last year. It might have been 2 or 3 years ago. Could have been the year the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. A guy, I don't know if it was a security guard or somebody in the back, recorded whoever was doing the national anthem that year and like posted it on social media.
I
And
remember.
do you remember that? And
Yep.
these sports books had to take it down right away and like readjust the over under because they were like flipping because obviously it's against the rules. It's illegal. You can't just do that. You know what I mean? So it's like they were scrambling. So that was obviously somebody knows something. They don't pull these numbers out of their ass. So, but it's always an interesting one. It will be talked about. You'll see on Sunday. Got a couple more for you. Got two more that we could discuss. First Rihanna song. The favorite right now is "Don't Stop the Music." I don't know off the top of my head what that is. I think
Please
that's
don't stop the.
the
Please don't
okay,
stop
yeah.
the music.
To me, first song, it's like the All-Star game. Flip a coin. Why is that a favorite?
Yeah. Only like 10 people in the world probably know.
Yeah, it's like in my opinion, you look through the songs and you see which one is best Super Bowl related. Which song best relates to the Super Bowl? And that's where you get the value from. However, you will see a shift in the line as it gets closer to game time. I think a lot of people talk, word gets out, and the line will shift. The favorite, being a favorite, is plus 300. So it's still a heavy plus, even though it's the favorite, because it's a coin flip. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But there must be a
Wow.
reason.
It's the favorite, but it's still that much.
It's plus 300 and still a
Wow.
favorite. Yeah. Unreal, huh?
So they have no clue.
No,
Is
I
what it
mean
sounds like to me.
it's like they're leaning that it could be that song, but they're not going to make it a minus
Well, I
because
wonder
it
if
could
that's
go
her
either
number
way.
one song on Apple Music because don't forget
It could be.
the entire is the entire Super Bowl halftime show is sponsored by um Apple Music.
Yeah, and it's like they got to get these lines from somewhere. Like I said, they just don't pull them out of their ass. So there's got to be a reason. That's the lean right now. The not the heavy favorite, the heavy, not even heavy, the dog. But there's got to be a reason for it. So maybe you're right. Maybe that was like one of her best selling songs at one point. I don't know.
What about Umbrella?
I don't know. I don't have the odds in front of me.
Living my own forever.
That might have not. You want to be
Umbrella,
honest? That's probably
umbrella.
like bottom of the
Eh,
list. I think
Yeah,
like
but she
close
could
to
bring.
1,000.
Okay, can you bet on who might come out with her?
Finn, there's props for everything. I guarantee you.
Because like, she's got songs with Drake. She's
Well, we
got
were
songs
talking. I was
with
talking about that with
Jay-Z.
Tony. Doesn't she have one with like
She-
but one with Britney Spears? I think.
Yeah. What about Eminem? You said Eminem's gonna be there.
No, I said Eminem last year. I was using that as like reference from last year. But Eminem singing that song with Eminem, I think Eminem's gonna make a surprise. He's gonna make a surprise, and that's a prop. I guarantee you somewhere. I guarantee you that's a prop. Well, Eminem show up, and I like the value because I assume yes, him showing up would be the underdog slightly. It's got to be. It's
Oh,
stuff like that. You got to like pick and choose your props, dissect it a little bit, use your brain, work smarter, not harder, and choose the value where the value lies. I mean, you'll see. Yeah. One more I want to talk about. We talked about this last year. This was a fun one from last year. The jersey number of the first touchdown score. Remember that from last year?
yeah. Under 11.
Over under 11 and a half, which is very interesting because Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, they're all over 11 and a half. So some of the bigger name players in this game are over an 11 and a half, but you got guys like Jalen Hurts is under 11 and a half. There's a couple more guys on the Eagles who are under 11 and a half. AJ Brown, he's under 11 and a
I
half,
think
right?
so. I
I
think
think he's
so.
11,
Yeah.
maybe. So that one's always fun too. But
I actually like that one.
where would you go, over or under? I think there's more value on the over because the under was the favorite.
AJ Brown is 11. So I think
Under was like minus 140 and the over was like plus 110.
then I might go over.
Because I think there's more value with like a pass. Holmes could run it in a pass to Kelsey. There's a
Yeah.
lot more players too who are over 11 and a half.
That's true.
I think
Huh.
I'd lean over.
I'm kind of leaning over too, actually, knowing it's plus, especially.
So those are some of the props I wrote down. Those were, get a little taste, get a little appetizer before the main course. Obviously, if you're interested in what else they have, there's over hundreds of different props you could look online. So that's what I got for you on props.
I've won the last 3 Super Bowl coin tosses,
I knew you were going to bring that up.
and it's been heads lately.
Does that mean you go tails?
I think I'm going tails this year.
Oh no, VP. Uh-oh.
I think I'm going tails this year.
Wow. That's interesting.
And we used Siri flip a coin to decide something the other night, and it was tails. So I think it's a sign. I think it's a sign. I think the Super Bowl coin toss is going to be tails this year.
I think you got to go tails then.
I'm not a tails never fails guy. Tails fails all the time. Actually, tails fails about 50% of the time. So these tails never fails people, fuck them. They're stupid. They have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. But I think this year it doesn't fail.
You could also choose like the winner of the coin toss. Do they win the Super Bowl? I think the winner of the coin toss, it's like an unreal stat. Like the last 8 times has lost the Super Bowl or something ridiculous like that.
Wow. 15 of the last 18 Super Bowl winners were wearing white.
Wow. Are the Chiefs going to be wearing white?
They are.
Uh-oh.
But 2 of the 3 that weren't were green.
Something's got to give.
One of them being Philly. And
Wow.
also, in 2017, the Astros won the World Series and the Golden State Warriors won the NBA title right before the Eagles won the Super Bowl.
That's so weird.
In 2022, the Astros won the World Series and the Golden State Warriors won the NBA title before the Eagles? Question mark.
That's weird.
Yeah.
It's all about poetry.
It is poetry.
Wow.
But then I was thinking about hockey. In 2017, the Pittsburgh Penguins won. And in 2022, the Colorado Avalanche won. And Nathan McKinnon and Sidney Crosby are from the same hometown.
That's just so weird.
That probably isn't going to impress people as much, but it
It's still
impressed me.
It's interesting, for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
Richard says, haven't paid much attention since the hard cap killed the championship Blackhawks. I'm here to inform Richard Long that the hard cap didn't kill the Chicago Blackhawks. Stan Bowman did by being terrible at maneuvering the hard cap, because there are teams like the Pittsburgh Penguins, the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Boston Bruins, who are very, very good for going into their second decade since the cap became a thing. And, trading Panarin for Saad killed the Hawks. Trading Yalmerson for Connor Murphy killed the Hawks. Trading first-round picks for Seth Jones killed the Hawks. Yeah. I don't know. I think Stan Bowman is the main culprit. Coincidence and wow with those oddities, Vinny. Yeah, that's true.
It's crazy.
It's true.
Nuts. I love stuff like that, though.
Yeah, I mean, and it happens more than you would think.
It happens a lot. Or like something where like 20 years later on the same day this happened, and it's like that happened, something like that happened just in 2022 or 2021, and the same thing happened something happened last year on the same exact day that happened back in 2000.
Tom Brady retired.
No.
On the same day.
Yeah, but that's not what I'm talking about.
Oh.
Because he didn't retire 21 years ago.
Oh.
Something happened 21 years ago on the same day as something that happened last year on the same day.
Got it. I remember what you're talking about, but I can't remember what it was. Was it something baseball related?
Yeah, I think it was.
Was it the Mariners clinching?
Oh, yeah, G's right. It was three fathers and three sons in baseball. It was
it.
It was
Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Bo Bichette, and
like 21 years later.
Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Bo Bichette, and Kevin Biggio.
They all got a hit or something.
And Pujols hit a home run that day too.
Yeah, that's what
it was. Those three's dad and Pujols hit a home run on the same day 21 years later that those three and Pujols hit a home run.
See, that's why I like stuff like that, like where it's like that long ago too. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Poetry.
Absolutely.
Good limerick.
I'm trying to think. And who won the cup? And so the Devils and Avalanche are always good at the same time. And they win cups near each other. Hey.
I don't know, VP.
Hey.
It's a possibility, I guess.
I don't know about this year, but it's coming. Richard, good old Chicago incompetence. You nailed it, my man. Although.
Sup, Sports Talk.
Frank, 3 cities in the United States of America have had 3 teams win a championship in the last 20 years. Who are they?
Wait, say that again.
3 cities in the United States of America have had 3 separate teams in the Big Four win a title. Who are they?
Chicago.
Who?
Cubs, Sox, Blackhawks.
Yep.
Give me a sec. No, that don't count.
Who?
Because it's got to be the same city. I was going to say St. Louis with the Blues, the Royals, but Royals is Kansas City.
Yep.
And then, hold on.
The state of Missouri has 3.
Yeah.
The Blues.
What about? No. I don't know. I don't want to think all day because I don't want to.
People are giving it away in the chat.
Oh, Boston? Los Angeles,
Yes.
the Red Sox, the Bruins, and the Celtics.
And the Patriots.
Yeah, but is that Boston?
No, maybe the Patriots don't count. But
Did the
yeah, it's
Celtics win?
Boston. The Celtics won in 11, I think.
And then Kings, Lakers, Dodgers. Yeah, yeah. The Patriots wouldn't count.
How about the Rams there? SG Sports Talk, them too. Um,
Yeah.
if
Wow.
the Devils were 30 miles north, they'd bring New York on that list. Because the Yankees and the Giants have won. There was a couple cities that are like one away. Obviously, Pittsburgh. If the Pirates won the World Series, Pittsburgh would be on it.
Did Tampa Bay?
No, Tampa Bay only has 2 teams. Oh no, they have 3, but the Rays haven't won a World Series. They lost twice.
So they could have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those are the 3.
Speaking of teams and everything, you know how you make fun of the Sacramento Kings?
Yeah, they're the most irrelevant team in the Big 4 sports.
Yeah, they're in third place right now.
Huh?
They're in third place in the conference. They're like 9 or 10 games over 500.
Let's go Kings.
They're
Let's
gonna be.
go Kings.
They heard you, VP, and now they're like, "Here we go."
I've
They-
never
they
even
got-
I've
they
never
got-
even tweeted it or anything. I've only said it on the show.
They heard you. Maybe they watch our show. They got a decent team this year. They're better than years past.
Well, I mean, you make all those top 5 picks, you better start fucking winning. Jesus Christ.
It's
It's
actually
like
really
the
funny.
Devils.
I saw that the other day that they were in third place, and I thought of you.
That's wild. I mean, yeah, it's like the Devils. They pick first. They pick first.
It's like the Oilers
Fourth,
too. Do you remember the
second.
Oilers?
Yeah, same thing. The Oilers are good.
Now, by
All
any
of a sudden.
means, are the Sacramento Kings going to win the championship this year? No, I wouldn't be
Yes.
surprised if they get bounced in the first round.
Nope, they're
But-
winning the whole damn thing.
But I could get behind Kings bandwagon. I'll ride with the Kings this year if you want to ride with the Kings.
All right, no, it's moving forward. Not even just this year. Like,
I don't have anything against them. I like
No,
the players.
me
on the
either.
team. I think
either.
De'Aaron Fox is a stud. And now Sabonis got traded from the Pacers to the Kings, which obviously that made a big deal this year. I like a lot of their players. I think they're talented. So yeah, I could ride with the Kings. I love their colors. I'm a big purple guy.
yeah, their colors are cool. I mean, that's the basketball team of this podcast. You like the Spurs. You like the Spurs. I like the
Yeah.
Bulls. But together, we're Kings fans.
Starting to like the Nuggets a lot more and the Hornets too.
I like the Nuggets. I just hate their team name. Like, what
like
made
their-
you decide you want to be the fucking Nuggets? You want to be the
Well-
fucking chicken McNuggets?
Well, no, you know the whole you're not. Come on, you know. Denver, Colorado is like the city of gold. It's like the gold mine. Denver Nuggets.
Oh, is that where
Nuggets is
that
a,
comes
a
from?
golden nugget. They're like the golden like mining capital of the world or whatever.
Didn't know that.
So that's why they're called the Nuggets. They're not chicken nuggets, which I know you knew that.
Oh
Obviously,
yeah, of course. The only thing I know about the Nuggets is
the
that
Denver
Carmelo
Chick-fil-A
Anthony.
Fisher.
Yeah. the freaking the Nashville fillet of fishes. I
Which
would cheer for them.
Sports Talk also said thoughts on Steph Curry out with the goal for the Warriors with the leg injury. Yeah, that's rough. I feel like he has trouble staying healthy sometimes,
Didn't even know that.
which gets into my next point, like LeBron breaking the all-time scoring record yesterday. And there's talks like, well, who could beat him? I think there's a couple. Curry's got to stay healthy if he wants a shot. He's about 17,000 points behind, but 500 less games played. And if he were to make up those 500 games, you'd only have to average 34 points a game, which is very possible for a guy like him. I just don't think it's going to happen. He just also doesn't stay healthy. Got guys like Giannis who can maybe do it, who's like 22,000 or so points behind, but he's also way, way younger than him. He's got a long way to go in his career. And potentially Luka Doncic. But when you got a guy like Steph Curry going down on your team, that doesn't spell good news. But I'm excited. The NBA, it's been very interesting this year. I like the new up-and-coming teams. Right now, the Bulls are in a play-in spot. So imagine they could win the play-in tournament and make the playoffs. That's always a possibility. 2 teams got to do it. So yeah, that's our little NBA, I guess. Go Sacramento.
Go Kings. I haven't tweeted much today because I've just been sleeping because I don't feel very good. But my most recent tweet is a basketball tweet, and that's probably the longest in the history of my life. A basketball tweet remained my most recent tweet.
Wow.
But I like the NBA. It's just I only have time to watch so much.
Mhm.
Like I'm covering football and baseball and and hockey. Like I like basketball. I didn't want to write an article about LeBron because I don't want to write about basketball anymore. I want one sport to just be like a legit fan.
I hear
Like
you.
I don't want to be professionally associated with basketball at all. I want to be a fan of basketball. I'm a fan of the other sports too, you know that. But when I read a Bulls article, I'm like, there are other people more
Always a
qualified
first,
to be
Vinny.
doing this. Yeah. What is there a first for?
I assume writing about basketball, or
Oh,
I
I've written
assume
Bulls
I don't know.
articles. I've written
We
Bulls
got a lot
articles.
of people who can't stand the Kings in this chat, which is
Why?
just I don't understand. We got a lot of Sacramento Kings haters, which there's no reason they haven't done
Oh,
anything.
is he a 49ers fan though? Which would probably make him a Warriors fan, which is why he's blowing Steph Curry right now, which is also why he hates the Kings. Because Sacramento and Oakland, California are geographically close.
That's the only thing I could think of.
I would be stunned if that's not the reason.
Why? What about Foster's though? There's a lot of hate in the chat for the Kings.
Yeah, I would love to hear why Foster hates the
Oh,
Kings.
he says there's always a first because you had the longest. You had a basketball tweet.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Listen, I
Foster.
used to hate the NBA when I was younger, and I couldn't stand it. And now it's up there as like one of my favorites. I love watching NBA games. It's
Yeah,
kind
I
of
mean,
crazy, actually. I would have never thought.
I loved seeing what LeBron did last night. People who hate LeBron are weirdos. You don't have to think he's the GOAT to like enjoy watching one of the greatest players ever. And I tweeted this. I am a Chicago Bulls fan that believes Michael Jordan is the GOAT. However, watching LeBron has been fun too. I'd put him second all time. And there are people that will put him first. And putting LeBron over Jordan is like putting Mahomes over Brady. You can argue Mahomes is more talented than Brady. I actually don't think you can argue it. I think it's a fact. But Mahomes would have to be as accomplished and great for that long to be considered the GOAT over Brady. I think two things can be true. You know,
Oh yeah, I agree with you.
there are probably people that think I'm better at podcasting than Mike Francesa. Okay.
I think you are.
Okay. Well, Mike Francesa is one of the most accomplished podcast people of all time, and I'm never going to sniff his jock. So,
Just
you
like
know what I'm
Foster,
saying?
there's always a first for everything, Vinny.
Always the first for everything. That's true. Frank, we have more Super Bowl to talk about.
Yeah.
I think we do that in period number 3. Welcome to period 3. Frank, Justin Fields is going to go on Pardon My Take this week. I'm kind of pumped about it.
I thought you were gonna say he's coming on our show next week.
I mean, I could try, but you know, Big Cat is a big Chicago Bears fan,
Yeah.
and hearing him interview Justin Fields with PMT commentary is going to be really, really cool. And if you haven't, I highly recommend listening to when Stephen A. Smith went on last week, or 2 weeks ago. It was awesome. It was so cool. I don't know if you like podcasts. I don't know if you're a podcast guy outside of our own.
I don't usually listen to him too often, but
I was listening to Spit and Chicklets last night. I watch them now. I watch podcasts now. Except for when I'm in the car, then I listen to them. But I was watching Spit and Chicklets yesterday, and there was one segment where I was like, Frankie would love this. Like, I literally thought of you specifically. It was when they were talking about like certain stories they had at the All-Star game. Ryan Whitney left his phone in a taxi cab or in a Uber, and the guy calls Whit later that night and says, if you want your phone back, that'll be $1,000. And Whitney's like, are you fucking kidding me? That's my phone. I'm not paying you for my phone.
Mhm.
And he talks him down to $200. Because like if you're gonna pay someone to come bring it back, like yeah, that's fine. You lot, but $1,000.
Yeah, it's rough.
Like if I was an Uber driver, I would just do the right thing and give the fucker his phone back.
Hmm.
But apparently, he almost got in a fight with the guy when he ended up dropping off his phone, and then he was like,
He would have won the fight. It would have been dumb on the other guy's move.
I don't know. Someone who's ballsy enough to do that probably isn't really worried about, fighting. They probably are more interested in things beyond fists to settle
Yeah.
the score.
Right.
If you're that confrontational and you're that confident that you're not scared of like 6'3" Ryan Whitney, like
It's true.
I don't know. But I think they were talking about Pink Whitney. I haven't had Pink Whitney in a long time. The last time I had it was over the summer. They talked about mixing it with vodka or soda water. And I was like,
I don't like soda water.
oh, really? I don't know if I like it or not.
Yeah.
But I was
I
also
sleep on
thinking
it.
about doing like half soda water, half Sprite, Pink Whitney.
Yeah.
I'm going to
I
try
don't
it.
know. The soda water thing kind of turns me off a little
What
bit.
about Sprite and Pink Whitney? I'm
Sprite
gonna
would
try
be Sprite would be a lot better. Soda water is just I'd rather have water.
Yeah.
Why give me fizzy water? It's just
That's
I don't
true.
like,
Well,
and that's probably why I don't like seltzers.
no, I don't like seltzers either. I like
So
High Noon, but that's
and
not.
but
seltzer.
you're probably not going to be a fan of soda water then. Most
Maybe
likely.
not. You're probably right, actually. Well, I need it to be. I like it when cocktails are fizzy. So
Yeah.
I can't mix normal water with liquor. I just can't do it.
Well, I agree with that. I mean, that's a little weird
There are people that do it, like Jack on the Rocks with a splash of water.
to dilute it maybe a little bit.
Yeah,
I mean, I would be okay with that, but it being your main liquid, no, it's a little weird.
I think I'm gonna make Pink Whitney my drink of the summer again this year. I took a break from it. I think we're gonna run it back this year.
Okay.
Bags tournament. That'll be my drink at the Bags tournament.
Wait till we have a segment on this show for the bags tournament.
Oh my god, people have
I
no
look forward
clue.
to it.
Oh my god, I can't wait. I'm gonna start some drama again.
Foster's coming this year.
Foster's coming this year. Let's go. Frank, between the Eagles and the Chefs, who has a better defense?
This will be I think we're going to agree for most of this, to be honest with you. Maybe not, though. We'll see. Right off the get-go, before I start, Sports Talk says go Kansas City Chiefs. Foster's likes to counter that with the Eagles win by 9. So I love the debate we got going on here. We'll get to our picks later. Defensive advantage, in my eyes, goes to the Philadelphia Eagles. In my opinion, the Chiefs have one of the best defensive players in Chris Jones. Right? One of the best. Obviously, their defense has improved mightily since the last few years. However, the Eagles' defense is just unbelievable. They had 4 different players with at least 11 sacks this year. They also were third. They set the third all-time record for most sacks in a season by a team with 70. And to me, that alone just tells you how good of a defense they have. Not to mention Lance Johnson.
Did you freeze?
No.
It was just the way you ended that. You went Lance Johnson.
I can mic drop. That's all you need to know. Lance Johnson.
No, I completely agree. The Eagles have the best defense. They have one of the best defenses in the NFL.
Yeah, it's really damn good.
It's absolutely unbelievable. So I echo a lot of the things you said. I think Hassan Reddick is unbelievable. The things that they're able to do that allow their offense to get back on the field quickly.
Mm-hmm.
They suffocate other teams' offense, and then they send their guys back on the field, and they're very good too. So,
Yep.
That's how they've won a lot of their games. So yeah, my defensive advantage goes to the Eagles. Frank, who has a special teams advantage?
The special teams advantage for me, for a multitude of reasons, I lean Chiefs. I go with the Chiefs on this one. I think Jake Elliott has been decent, but their punting game could be a little shaky at times, which is special teams. That's got to be taken into considerations. And on the other side of it, with the Chiefs, you got an all-pro punter in Tommy Townsend. He's a great punter. The way he could just place the ball every time he punts where he wants generally is just to me is unbelievable. Butker has been a little up and down, but he was dealing with an injury, and I think he's finally molding back into what he once was. Let's not forget Harrison Butker was an all-pro. Or no, not an all-pro. He was the scoring leader in the NFL for 6 seasons, kicking over 89%. A lot of people don't remember that. So with the little downs that he's had lately, I think in a game like this and his form coming back, he's going to get his shit together. And I think in key moments in the Super Bowl, you're going to clearly see why the Chiefs have the advantage in special teams.
This is the closest one that's a wash to me because basically all that matters in special teams in today's NFL is how good your punter is, how good your long snapper is, and how good your field goal kicker is, and your offensive line. Because the rules have made it where kick returns just aren't what they once were. And on punt returns, guys are so fast in coverage that, I mean, what percent of plays would you say end in a fair catch?
A
So,
lot.
I mean, so with that, I think it just comes down to a wash. I trust both field goal kickers. You know, it's not like I'm worried about either field goal kicker going into
Me either, but I think advantage punter goes to the.
And that's why I'm going to give the Chiefs the ever so slight edge, because it's not like Philly's punter's bad.
Mhm.
I'll give the slight edge to the Chiefs because of the punter. I mean, I literally think it's a wash, but I'm not going to, lose her out of this question and just say wash because that's no fun. So I'll just give a slight edge to the Chiefs because of the punter, no other reason.
All right, I
Frank,
like it.
who has the coaching advantage?
Coaching advantage, hands down, Andy Reid and the Chiefs. This is like, I don't even think there's argument made here for Nick Sirianni. Young coaching staff, still getting their feet wet in the the NFL.
Close.
Andy Reid, Hall of Fame coach. He knows how to win in big games. Also heard another crazy stat that Andy Reid, coming off a bye, any type of bye, whether it's a bye week, you got the bye for being the number one seed, so you don't have to play in the wild card, or a bye on the way to the Super Bowl. Any type of bye that Andy Reid comes off, his record is 28-3. That shows you that a Hall of Fame coach doesn't let the extra rest get to you. He knows how to prepare, and having that week of preparation is tremendously advantage when you know how to prepare for a game like this. Coaching advantage, Andy Reid and the Chiefs.
I think you said 28-3.
28-3.
I think all three of those losses are the Super Bowl.
I would not be surprised because
He's got at least one with the Eagles, and he lost to Tom. So at least two of the three. But I'm pretty sure all three of them are in the Super Bowl.
But it just goes to show the winning percentage coming off a bye. That's what a Hall of Fame coach does, and it's no question that they have the coaching advantage.
Yeah, make it very clear. Me saying that all three are in the Super Bowl is not me picking Sirianni, who in his own right is wonderful. Okay, there's a reason, I'm a little more down on the Bears than I thought I would be right now because of some of the things I've seen in this year's NFL playoffs. They hired a defensive coach. The Final Four were all offensive coaches. And I think 5 of the last 6 Super Bowl winning coaches were offensive coaches, and the one that wasn't was Bill Belichick, who is arguably considered the greatest coach who ever lived.
Mm-hmm.
Andy Reid is the best coach in the NFL right now. He has taken that torch from Bill Belichick. The New England Patriots have been rather pedestrian since Tom Brady left. That's nothing against Bill Belichick. He helped turn Tom Brady into what he was. But it's Andy Reid. And Sirianni is doing the impossible task of going up against his former head coach. I'm talking like he was an assistant. Andy Reid has a very good record against his former assistants. Like Nick Saban, I'm pretty sure when Nick Saban lost to Kirby Smart in the championship last year, that was the first time he ever lost to an assistant. I'm pretty sure Bill Belichick is undefeated against assistants, or maybe he has one loss. But as of right now, I would give the slight coaching edge to Andy Reid. I'm with you. I don't even really think it's arguable.
I don't think it's a slight coaching edge either.
No, it's actually probably not. I would give it to Andy Reid for sure. It's like not even a question in my mind.
I think 99% of the people you ask would say Andy Reid. They'll be the one guys that say like,
and they're from Philadelphia, and they're all drunk. They're drunk. They have their shirts off, and one of them is on their way to climb a flagpole. Who has the weapons advantage? This one, in my opinion, there was one that was a complete wash. You can argue, you'd be an idiot to argue the Chiefs' defense, but you can argue it. Special teams could go either way. Coaching is so one-sided one way. I think the weapons advantage is the closest of them all.
I'm going to give – I think it's close, but I think there is a little advantage here to lean the Eagles. I think the Eagles have the weapons advantage. First of all, they have one of the best running games in the NFL. Absolutely unbelievable. And if you're not giving it to Sanders or Gainwell running the ball, Jalen Hurts could take off in that running game too. So right there, that's a huge weapon to have. With the Mahomes doesn't run as much as Jalen Hurts, but he can. But I feel like that's a big weapon to have when your quarterback will run too, on top of two great running backs that you have. Not to mention, when you look at your wide receivers, I think the Eagles may have the better wide receivers. A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith. That right there too. Those are two guys. I mean, their offense is cooking. I think the Chiefs obviously have the advantage when it comes to tight ends, obviously with Travis Kelce. But I think when you put your running game together, your wide receiving game together, the chance that Jalen Hurts could add to that running game, I'm going to give the weapons advantage to the Eagles.
I'm a little surprised. I agree with you, though. Kelce's the best weapon on either team.
Agree.
But, I mean, you can argue he's the best weapon in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the entire weapons group, the wide receiver room, the running back room, the tight end, like Goddard is still a very respectable tight end. It's not like the Eagles, or it's not like the Chiefs have Kelce and the Eagles have some BS. Like, they're not trotting out a rookie. Like, Goddard is very good. And Jalen Hurts will find him in the Super Bowl for at least a couple catches, if not a TD. I was actually I'm supposed to save this for breaking bets, but I actually was thinking about Goddard as an anytime touchdown scorer.
Sure, there's a little bit of value.
Yeah, there's a couple guys that I have my eye on. And we'll talk about that in a couple minutes. It'll probably be the most active I've ever been in breaking bets.
Cool.
But yeah, Eagles, it's like a sneaky advantage. People don't know it. There's less household names like Juju Smith-Schuster and Travis Kelce and McKinnon and Pacheco. You know, these guys have become household names because they play for the Chiefs, because they play with Patrick Mahomes. You ask randos about the Chiefs wide receivers and weapons, and like Goddard's not a household name unless you love football, but everyone's heard of Travis Kelce. You got the mom thing with, brother Jason and all, but advantage Eagles. Frank, who has the offensive line advantage?
I'm also going to give this one to the Eagles. Simply Lane Johnson. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but not giving up a sack for 2 years could definitely come into play in this game more than you think. And maybe this is the game where the streak ends, right? But not only that, they were first in pass block rating. They were second in pressure, and they were third in the league in run block rating. So that right there, offensive line advantage definitely goes to the Eagles. And you've seen in the past few games, like players haven't been able to get to the quarterback. It's been very tough. Jalen Hurts has a lot of time to get the ball away. Advantage Eagles for sure.
We agree. I think it's the Eagles. Lane Johnson is one of the best tackles in the NFL. They have a top 2 center, if not top 1. The Chiefs also have a top 2 center, if not top 1.
People are going to get annoyed with me for keep saying he hasn't given up a sack in 2 years.
Who cares? I legit think you could flip a coin on who's better. Like, I think Kelce's better. I think they said Creed Humphrey had a better Pro Football Focus grade this season. But, it's like those years where, Matthews was slightly better than McDavid. Right. We would still all rather have McDavid. Like, it's the same type of deal. But I think it's 1A and 1B with Kelce and Creed Humphrey, but adding Lane Johnson. And it's not like the rest of those guys are schmucks either.
No, right.
Either of these teams would have an advantage over a team like the Bengals, even when the Bengals are healthy, because The Bengals weeks 1 through 15 had the same 5 players start for their offensive line all season long, and they were good.
Mm-hmm.
But then when guys started to get hurt, it started to fall apart a little bit, and they weren't able to overcome it the way they were last year against the Chiefs.
Right.
But, we'll see what happens with the offensive line. But I don't really see either quarterback getting sacked too often in this game. But it wouldn't shock me if like a big sack is like a turning point at any point late in the game.
Could you imagine if Lane Johnson gives up his first sack and it comes like in a drive trying to that could happen.
Yeah, 100%.
So I agree with you.
Eagles history, 2017 Super Bowl. It was technically 2018, but it was the 2017 season. The game-winning play was a sack. They sacked Tom Brady on the game-winning drive, where if they didn't make that play, there's a very good chance Tom goes down and scores.
Yeah.
The best game Tom ever played in the Super Bowl, he lost, and it was to the Eagles. So, it was like his only Super Bowl with 500 yards and multiple touchdowns. Like, it was unbelievable. And I know where you're going to go with this. It's probably because of how unanimous it is. It's probably going to sound like a slight to the other guy, but it is very much not. Like, very much not. 1 and 2 in MVP this year are this Super Bowl's 2 quarterbacks. But Frank, who has the quarterback advantage?
Obviously, the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, best quarterback in the NFL right now. And just when you think other guys, like if Burrow were to beat Mahomes again, then it's, in conversations, like maybe Burrow could potentially be number 1. But it's just Patrick Mahomes. Every year, people doubt him for some reason. Remember, Joey doubted him that one year, saying how much he stunk. And I guess Patrick Mahomes isn't going to be good this year. Patrick Mahomes just keeps doing magical things. The passes he makes when he's on the run are just some things that certain quarterbacks can't make those same plays, which is why Patrick Mahomes is one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback in the NFL right now. Quarterback advantage, Chiefs.
I would take Patrick Mahomes with a high ankle sprain over Jalen Hurts healthy any day of the week. But that's not a slight to Jalen Hurts. I don't think any other quarterback is in the same stratosphere as Mahomes. Josh Allen and Joe Burrow are outstanding. Josh Allen was approaching him last year. But again, the Bills made a terrible mistake. They hired a defensive coach. I hated that. From the second they did it, I was so annoyed. And I don't know. I just think things changed, and Allen's got a lot to work on. I think he's talented enough to get in that conversation with Mahomes again. So is Burrow. So is Trevor Lawrence. So is Justin Herbert. So is Jalen Hurts.
Right.
We've seen Aaron Rodgers be in that conversation. Rodgers was back-to-back MVP before this season. If he comes back next year, there's a chance that, he's equally as good. He's equally as talented in his prime as Mahomes is now. I do believe that. They're probably the 2 most talented quarterbacks I've ever seen. Neither of them are the GOAT, but they're the 2 most talented quarterbacks I've ever seen. But right now, Patrick's just on another level. And
I had a feeling we'd agree on all of them.
The Bears didn't even interview him.
It's a shame.
They didn't even interview him, and then they gave up a lot to move up to 2 and select number 10.
I'm sorry, VP.
It's sad.
It is sad. Imagine
Although
Mahomes playing for the Bears.
I don't think he'd be as good.
I don't know. He'd still be decent.
He'd be decent, but would the Bears turn if this Mahomes came to the Bears now? Yes. But would they gotten him to this level? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know.
Would Brock Purdy succeed with the Bears? No, he would have went winless. Kyle Shanahan's offense literally helped
I agree,
him.
I think. Yeah.
If Mahomes started his career with the Bears and they threw him in the fire right away, and instead of having Andy Reid, he had Matt Nagy or John Fox or one of those blowholes. He doesn't become what he is today. He doesn't learn how to read a defense quite the way he did under Andy Reid with, some of the guys that they've had there in Kansas City. Do I think, again, I'll say it again, if Mahomes now came to the Bears, he'd be wonderful. He's developed. He's him. But when he was raw, sometimes...
So you take him on the Bears right now?
Yes.
You would trade What would you trade for him? Basically anything from the Bears or no?
He's untouchable.
But what would you?
I think if the Bears offered 10 first-round picks, they would say no.
Would you offer 10 first round
No.
picks?
Because
Well,
then
that's
you
what
would
I'm
never
saying. What would you trade?
you would never be good. I wouldn't. Like, there's nothing worth giving up for a quarterback. The rest of your team would stink.
Yeah, you're right.
And before we get into breaking bets, this is kind of a good segue into breaking bets. I don't know which way I like better. The Chiefs roster is not as good. We picked the Chiefs on everything, or we picked the Eagles on everything except for coach, which doesn't play the game. Special teams was a draw, but we gave a tiebreaker because of the fucking punter.
Which will make a difference. The punting will come into play. Trust me.
But neither team wants to see their punter. He's everybody's least favorite player. When you
No,
see
but
your
he's-
favorite team's punter, you're pissed.
But I think he's one of the most crucial. If you got punters shanking the ball every time, you're going to give the Eagles good field position.
That's fine. But based on this exercise we just did, we proved that the Eagles have a significantly better overall roster than the Chiefs. And why? Because they don't pay their quarterback. There's a reason that when the Chiefs had Mahomes on a rookie contract, they won the Super Bowl. And they were in the AFC title game the year before. They're back in the Super Bowl now, but they're underdogs. How are the Chiefs underdogs? Because the rest of their roster isn't as good because they paid Mahomes and there's less money to go around for everyone. And I'm starting to wonder if what the 49ers and Eagles are doing is going to become the new recipe for success. Build the most talented roster possible, draft a quarterback, keep him on his rookie deal for as long as you can, and then move on when the time is right. Instead of paying Dak Prescott $40 million a year, you build the rest of your roster, you trade Prescott when it's time, and you draft someone else. And if your roster is as good as the 49ers, Brock Purdy can come in and win a bunch of games. You know, as long as it's not a complete bum playing quarterback, as long as it's not Jay Cutler or something like that. Like, I'm a little worried about the direction the Bears are headed in for this reason. Because by the time the rest of their roster is pretty good, Justin Fields' first 5 years are going to be up, and he's going to command that coin, and the rest of the roster is going to suffer. And then, now what? You have an overpaid quarterback with a mediocre roster. And is Justin Fields as good as Mahomes where you can overcome a mediocre roster? No.
I think that's a perfect segue.
And that's a perfect segue into deciding who we think is going to win Super Bowl LVI in America's favorite podcast segment of the week, Breaking Bets.
Where's my money, bitch?
What?
Where's my money, bitch? I'm watching Better Call Saul. I'm almost done with it. It's the prequel to Breaking Bad, and it is almost as good as Breaking Bad. And there's a couple things that could happen that could make it even with Breaking Bad.
Wow.
And Breaking Bad's the greatest show I've ever seen.
Cool.
Freaking awesome. Can't wait to finish it. I'll have it finished.
Now,
I'll
Go
have, it,
ahead.
I'll have it finished before our next show, but I'll probably have it finished before Crosstown Crosstalk tomorrow.
okay. Now, do you want me to? I have 4 picks, including the Super Bowl. I'm going to save that one for last. I want
Yeah.
to make the people salivate. Wait.
Save that for last. Frank, you're on the floor.
It's my favorite words, VP.
The floor is yours. You're Rihanna right now. You're Patrick Mahomes right now. You're Jalen Hurts right now. Let's go.
Well, we're going to start off. Let me put the thing. We had a pretty good week last week. We went 2 for 3. We boosted our winning percentage of breaking bets on the show from 40 to 44.4. It went up a little bit. That's good to see a trend in the right direction. I'm going to start off with the NBA this week. The Indianapolis Pacers are taking on the Miami Heat. Miami Heat are significantly better. However, all 3 games that these teams played this year against each other have been decided by 5 points or less. So I'm going to take the Pacers plus 7.5. And here's an additional reason as to why. No Duncan Robinson for the Heat. No Kyle Lowry for the Heat. No Victor Oladipo for the Heat. You got some 3 key injuries going for the Heat. On top of every match that they've played this year has been decided by 5 points or less, including a Pacers win in one of those. I think there's tremendous value in the Pacers plus 7.5, and it's only going to cost minus 124 if you take the price. So there you go. Think that's a fantastic pick for the NBA. The NHL slate kind of stinks tonight. There's only 2 games. However, there's one game that really caught my eye, and it's not going to be the one you think. It's the Rangers hosting the Vancouver Canucks. I think there's great value, honestly, in the Canucks plus a goal and a half. Truly, I do. The Canucks have looked really feisty ever since Tocchet took over. These 2 teams only play each other twice every year. So it's not like they're used to playing each other, opposite conferences. I think the Canucks stay feisty in this game. And since Tocchet took over, they've either won or have lost by 1, except in 1 game. With that being said, in non-conference, 2 teams that are in the opposite conference, non-conference teams, I think the Canucks can keep it feisty here and keep it close, plus a goal and a half. And you got even better value on the first pick at minus 121. So I think there's some decent value there for the Canucks to keep it close. Not too often can you get a team plus a goal and a half and be good value like that. But because the Vancouver Canucks are significantly worse than the New York Rangers, you could get some pretty good value, and I think they keep it close and feisty here. Take the Canucks plus 1.5 at minus 121. Moves me to my third pick in college basketball. We're getting to the meat and potatoes. March Madness begins next month. Got a lot of conference play going on right now. One game stuck out to me. It was Belmont at Missouri State. The last time these 2 teams played back in January, Belmont won significantly by 13 points. It's in Missouri State this time around. I think Missouri State can keep it close, get it done on home court. No other spot than a better spot for revenge at home against a conference foe. I like Missouri State money line minus 125. All 3 of those picks relatively in the same ballpark right there. But I really like Missouri State to get it done in this revenge spot after losing them by double digits in January. Those are my 3 picks. And I'm ready when you are, if you want me to give my Super Bowl pick or how you want to go about this.
I'll give my non-Super Bowl picks first. They're all Super Bowl props.
Let's hear it.
DraftKings has cross-sport specials.
Cross-sport? Yeah.
So you can be like
NBA players and stuff.
Yeah, like who do you think what's going to there be more of on this weekend? Connor McDavid points or Jalen Hurts touchdown passes?
Yeah.
I like those. I'm not going to do any of them, but I like them.
They're fun.
I think I'm going to throw a little money on both Goddard and Pacheco to be anytime touchdown scorers. I'm also thinking about putting a little something on Patrick Mahomes to be an anytime touchdown scorer. There's just such good value, plus 350.
I could see that happening.
Yeah, especially if his ankle is much better. I think those are, reasons to bet on him. I'm going to think about Jalen Hurts or Patrick Mahomes, one of the quarterbacks, as Super Bowl MVP.
Smart.
I'm looking at novelty props.
Mm-hmm.
I like some of these, Frank. The coin toss. Tails. Betting tails this year. I just have a strong feeling. Passing props. No. Receiving props. Nah. Head-to-head player props.
Those are fun, too.
Those are very fun. Touchdowns. DraftKings hasn't loaded them yet, though. So we'll see if I end up doing any of those. But those are some of the props that I'm looking at this week. I might bet a team for the half, though. But, some of these things
To win a half?
Yeah. Some of these things I'll decide on before. I like to have things sprinkled throughout the whole game. But those are the ones that I'm pretty much a lock to do at this point before Sunday. I'm not, fully ready yet, but
right.
We'll see.
I like it, VP. I do.
Who is going to win the Super Bowl?
The moment the fans have all been waiting for. They've been tuning into this show. They've been salivating from period 1 to period 2.
To hear who Frankie has winning the Super Bowl.
to period 3 to breaking bets. They've had to wait to this moment, and it all comes down to this. I have the pick in hand. The winner of Super Bowl 57, LVII, will be the Kansas City Chiefs. I like the Kansas City Chiefs money line at plus 100. Whatever you bet, that's what you get. You bet 10, you get 10. You bet 100, you get 100. I like the value here. I like the Andy Reid coming off a bye in a big spot. I think experience, Hall of Fame coach, experience from Mahomes in a big game where who's won a Super Bowl is going to triumph over the slightly better roster that the Eagles got. I love the Chiefs in this situation. I just think the experience is what's going to kill the Eagles in this game.
What's your score?
That's an interesting one. I think it's going to be middle of the pack in terms of scoring. I think there might be around mid 40 points range. I'm going to go 24-20 Kansas City.
Okay. Super Bowl LVII. We're getting old.
Yeah.
The Bears were in Super Bowl XLI, if I remember correctly.
Now we got a
06.
different letter.
And it was Super Bowl XX in 1985, Super Bowl 20. 20 and 41, XX and XLI. I really like the Bears. Sorry, I really like Tom too, but Tom has way too many Super Bowls for me to remember all those numericals. Wow, can you imagine me trying to remember all those? That's what happens when you win every year. I believe that the Philadelphia Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl by a final score of 34-28.
Wow. High scoring from VP.
Yeah, I think Mahomes is outstanding, and he's playing against a very good defense. So 28's kind of low for Mahomes in a lot of ways. I don't like the way both Jacksonville and Cincinnati were able to make it close against them, and the Eagles have just blown out everyone they've played. I understand the competition. There's a reason no other team blew out that competition, though. I mean, you play who you play.
Yeah.
And the Eagles have the best or second best roster in the NFL. The only team that's probably got a better overall roster is San Francisco. And boy, did they get screwed with their quarterback situation this year. So that kept them out of the Super Bowl. But I have the Eagles winning the Super Bowl 34-28. I'm not saying that's what I want. I would probably, if I got to choose what I wanted, pick the Chiefs. I've made this comment many times on the show. Fan-sided, Chiefs. I know where my bread is buttered. But I think the Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl. I do.
Interesting. Well, one of us is going to be right.
One of us is going to be right. I think it's a very compelling matchup. I've battled with this for a week and a half. I think the Chiefs are very good. It wouldn't stun me at all if they win. If they win, I'll wear my Chiefs hat on the show next week and be happy for Mahomes. And I'll give you your props for calling it. But that roster is just too good, I think, for the fact that the Chiefs have 2 of the 3 best players in the game. The Eagles have 15 of the 20 best players in the game. And there's a lot of red high on that list, but there's a lot of green throughout the rest of it. And it's not like the positions that the Chiefs are better at, like quarterback, the Eagles are bums at either. Jalen Hurts is a very good player. He has experience playing in big games, obviously, with the University of Alabama before transferring to become an Oklahoma State Sooner. He made it to the college football playoff with both, I believe. And if it weren't for Tua Tagovailoa coming into Alabama and dominating that one game that they were playing, they were down to Georgia. Jalen Hurts probably would have stayed in one more there too. So he knows what it's like to play in big moments. And that's where I'm at. The Eagles.
Interesting. Very interesting pick. Very interesting with the amount of points. But we'll know an answer come Sunday night.
76% of the money is on the Eagles. In all the books combined.
Wow. What about the public?
What do you mean?
percentage of the money is not the same as percentage of public like bets. Like 50% of the bets could be on the Eagles, but 74% of the money or whatever.
Oh, yeah. The more higher stakes bets could be on the Eagles.
And if there's normally, if it's more than 70% is on a side, it's better to fade the public and go the other way. I don't know. I don't know what the public percentage is yet, but
I don't know. I heard them say that on the Pat McAfee show, and it sounded smart to say.
I like it.
76% of the money, though. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
I do think the line will get closer, though.
Yeah, there's still a ton of time. Millions are going to be flowing in. Millions.
Will you keep updated on what the Sharks are doing?
Yeah, I'll know.
Because I might bet with the Sharks. Listen, this is my prediction on Wednesday. I fully reserve the right to wake up on Friday and say, actually, you know what? I think the Chiefs are going to win. I know that sounds cowardly, but like things change. You hear an update from practice. You listen to people talk.
Yeah.
Oh, this is happening with Patrick Mahomes.
And if 35% of the bets were on the Eagles, but 76% of the money is still on the Eagles, that means the Sharks are on the Eagles. So that's why I want to know what the public percentage is right now. You have to use both to know where the Sharks are. So
yeah,
we'll see. I'll keep you updated.
Maybe we'll figure that out, and everyone can follow at the King Bean on Twitter to see what he ends up tweeting out about the results of that.
Fun show, though.
Very good. I mean, I'm looking at this list. I did not feel good in the first period, and my Advil must have kicked in because I started to feel like picked up around the second period. My headache kind of went away. But, you know, Jordan flu game. Credit to me. I don't miss a show.
That's good. You're dedicated. You love what you do.
I love it. But yeah, make sure you're reading all Frankie's shit on apptrigger.com. I saw he did a prediction of the Madden simulation. They had the Eagles to win.
Eagles win by 14, which is a little excessive.
Madden's always right.
You want to know something funny? In the last 10 simulations, they've only gotten it right 4 times. But in 2015, they predicted it correct, the correct team, and the correct score.
Oh, wow. That's pretty crazy.
It is pretty crazy.
Was 2015 the Panthers beating the Broncos?
Let me look it up.
Because the season that it isn't the year that the Super Bowl's played. This is the 2022 Super Bowl.
2015 Super Bowl. Yeah, it was the Patriots winning it.
Okay, so it was the 20.
I thought it was the 2014 season.
Yeah.
2015 was the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
28-14 when they beat the Seahawks. That was they predicted that. Madden predicted that.
That's wild.
So, yeah.
Intercepted on the goal line by
they
Malcolm
didn't predict that.
Butler. Well, I don't think Disney could write a script like that.
But if you want to read more about that, see who won MVP in the game. I also discussed that. You can follow me on Twitter at the King Bean and read all the good video game articles, including Hogwarts Legacy, which comes out in 2 days, but you were able to play it yesterday, 3 days early if you purchased the deluxe edition. I've already written 3 guides on the game. You can find that on apptrigger.com.
Are you getting it?
Absolutely. But I want next gen to get it first, so I need to get a count because you can't get it for Xbox One. You can't get it for previous, till April. So,
yeah, I'd like to get it at some point too.
I heard it's fantastic.
Yeah, I definitely would like to get it at some point soon. I very much like Harry Potter, and I very much am looking forward to playing that game. Read all about Frankie shit at apptrigger.com. I'm ramping up baseball with Southside Showdown into Windy City again. Spring training starts next week after the Super Bowl, so we'll move right along from one sport to the other. Excuse me. Football, obviously. Bears, Jaguars, all offseason long, and we'll go over things that went on in the Super Bowl, relating it back to the Bears and the Jaguars. Very much looking forward to it. The Devils are one of the best teams in the NHL for the first time in 1,000 years. Zach Parise was 28 years old last time they were this good. Trying to think. Hall had 39 goals in 2018. Jack Hughes is 4 away. He'll break that. The franchise record for goals is 45. He'll break that. The franchise record for points is 95. He'll break that, methinks. And you can read all about that at pucksandpitchforks.com, obviously covering the whole NHL. At puckpros.com, I will be doing a piece on the Minnesota Wild having the best farm system in the NHL. And I'm going to go to an Iowa Wild game tomorrow and see some of those
Are
players
you
play
really?
in action. Yeah, against, and it was so funny.
Where?
They-
Here? Or are you
At
going
Chicago Wolves. Chicago Wolves. And this is Friday, I meant to say. Friday, not
You
tomorrow.
got Thursday on your mind.
Yeah, I'll be seeing you tomorrow. I didn't realize that the Wild were going to be number 1 on the Athletics ranking, and a lot of those guys are playing for the Iowa Wild, so I'm very excited to go check them out. The Hurricanes and the Wolves. I don't remember the Hurricanes. They weren't low on the list, but they weren't extremely high either. But
Middle of the pack.
they have a good farm system overall.
Middle.
And the Wolves are always winning. So there's something in the water at the Allstate Arena, regardless of who their farm or who their NHL affiliate is.
Well, that'll be fun. That'll be a fun time.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to. I don't even care about the Wolves. I'm excited to see the Iowa Wild with all those top prospects that they have. Those guys will be playing for the Minnesota Wild as soon as next year, like Marco Rossi and stuff like that. So very much looking forward to it. But yeah, read all about it on puckpros.com. Obviously the Blackhawks and how bad they stink at thewindycity.com, but they stink in a good way because Bedard, man, he ended his point streak a couple games ago. It ended a 35-game point streak. What a
That's
bum. But the game before that, he won it in a
stinks.
shootout. Yeah, the game before that, he won it in a shootout and had a goal and an assist in regulation. So
That's hilarious.
he's unbelievable. Can't wait to see him in the NHL.
He is VP.
He's going to end up on the Devils some way, somehow. It's kind of funny. Like, this is the year that the Devils finally not in lottery contention. But they got Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier.
Yeah,
so
what are you complaining about?
I'm not complaining about anything. But he is a winger. He'd be sick with Hischier, I think. That's who I would put him with.
I got a spoiler alert.
Spoiler
That's not
alert.
gonna happen.
What is it?
He's not going to the Devils.
Oh. Probably not. Probably not. Oh, I don't even know. They'd have to trade Hischier and 2 firsts to get him. And that might not even get it done. But yeah, make sure you read all the shit. Follow me on Twitter at Vinny Parisi. Follow Frank Mueller at The King Bean. I hope everybody enjoys the Super Bowl. Be extremely, extremely safe. Obviously, that night is loaded with a lot of people who decide to get really drunk and then drive us home. So be careful. We need each and every one of you back here on Wednesday. We love each and every one of you. So don't do anything stupid. And we'll be excited to have you back and recap everything we see at the Super Bowl. Of course, our show isn't the only place where you could catch things involving the Super Bowl. Dan and Aldo bare their souls, Mike North, Greg Gabriel, all these people doing outstanding stuff, covering football and all the things that go with it. I will be with you tomorrow on Crosstown Crosstalk. We're going to try it again with Sean Burke because he decided to take a nap through our show last week. So, he's giving it another go this week. And if he doesn't do it this week, I got bad news for him. 1, I don't want him. And 2, he's off to spring training on like Wednesday of next week. So we won't be having him if he doesn't show up tomorrow. But we love you, Sean. Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow. I should probably follow up with him actually now that I have that on my
Good
mind.
idea, huh?
Yep, but it's going to be a very exciting interview. We're going to interview one of the White Sox top prospects. So we had Jake Berger last Monday on South Burbs Hitman. I hope everybody tuned into that. It was an awesome, awesome interview with the Chicago White Sox infielder and, hater of mesh baseball caps. So go check it out here on the Barroom Network. It's awesome. I hope everybody enjoys the Super Bowl. For Frankie Mueller, my name is Vinny Parisi. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.